Chapter 1678. Yang Hongwu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Zhang Liqiang was really too much. How could he praise goddess Xianbing's beauty in front of the two ladies? Wasn't he looking for trouble? At this time, Zhang Liqiang also realized that he had said the wrong thing and immediately stopped talking. Although he was very angry, he also knew that at this time, if he confronted the two women again, Yang Hongwu would most likely not agree to him. If that happened, he would be in big trouble. For the sake of goddess Xianbing's injury, it was better for him to keep silent. Seeing that Zhang Liqiang had stopped talking, the two ladies were a little proud. Yang Hongwu shook his head secretly. Women were all the same. They couldn't bear to see others praise other women's beauty in front of them. Zhang Liqiang was also tactful. He did not say anything more and stopped arguing. Otherwise, if he continued arguing, the two women would probably turn the sky upside down. "How far is it from here to Ice City?" Yang Hongwu asked. "Master, it's a long way from here to Ice City. If we take the Snow Mountain Eagle, it'll only take 1 day," Zhang Liqiang said. Yang Hongwu frowned. It would take 1 day to take the Snow Mountain Eagle. Obviously, it was not a short distance. Yang Hongwu didn't want to waste a day. However, he couldn't expose the void transmission secret skill, so he could only use the formation. Is there no other way? For example, formation transmission? Yang Hongwu asked. Zhang Liqiang shook his head and said, there was a formation transmission. However, because of the invasion of the demon region, the entire Ice City was confined by a special force. Therefore, it's impossible to use the formation transmission. The space of the entire Ice City has been sealed? It's impossible to use the formation transmission? When Yang Hongwu heard this, he was extremely shocked. The entire profound Ice City was not a small space, but it was actually completely sealed off. Such a method was truly shocking. It was definitely not something that ordinary people could do. It was extremely difficult for a divine Emperor Realm expert to do it. Moreover, it required a lot of people. With Yang Hongwu's current cultivation, it was impossible for him to do it. Since Zhang Liqiang could do it, it meant that he was very powerful. He was not to be trifled with. However, if he didn't go now, that wasn't very likely. Now that he had entered the deity realm, he definitely had to go to profound Ice City. Originally, Yang Hongwu had planned to go to the common people's god realm, first to the common people's god palace. But now, he had to go to the Xianbing god realm first to check out the situation and see if the so-called demon realm master was Zetian. If he was a Zetian, then did he catch his woman? This was something that Yang Hongwu had to figure out. If it was not the Zetian, then it would be fine. If it was the Zetian, then it would be troublesome. The Zetian hated him very much. They were his sworn enemies. They were destined enemies. Whether it was Zetian or himself, both of them wanted to kill each other. Only one of them could survive. There was no other possibility. Snow Mountain Eagle? Brother Yang, let's ride the Snow Mountain Eagle. We haven't ridden one before. Pang Liren was very happy. She was very excited when she heard that they could ride the Snow Mountain Eagle. Yang Hongwu was speechless. The Snow Mountain Eagle was not a particularly cool mount. He had ridden phoenixes and divine dragons. A mere Snow Mountain Eagle was nothing. If it was some ancient divine beast or primordial ferocious beast, Yang Hongwu would be a little interested. The Snow Mountain Eagle was just an ordinary flying exotic beast. It was not a big deal at all. The name Snow Mountain Eagle sounded good, but its strength was very ordinary. The most powerful Snow Mountain Eagle was only at the Great Emperor Realm. Therefore, Yang Hongwu was not interested in flying exotic beasts like the Snow Mountain Eagle. We can't ride the Snow Mountain Eagle now. My Snow Mountain Eagle was killed by a mountain eagle on the way here. Zhang Liqiang was a little embarrassed. Yang Hongwu was a little interested in the mountain eagle. The bloodline of the mountain eagle was much higher than that of the Snow Mountain Eagle. It was said that the mountain eagle had the bloodline of the ancient Dapeng golden eagle. The ancient Dapeng golden eagle was very powerful. Of course, it was not the ancient Dapeng golden eagle. The real ancient Dapeng golden eagle was very ferocious. It was at the same level as those terrifying ancient divine dragons. For example, the Taitsong divine dragon was at the same level as the ancient Dapeng golden eagle. The mountain eagle was at its strongest, comparable to a peak divine emperor expert. If he could tame a mountain eagle, it would be a great reward. If there is no snow mountain eagle, what are you talking about? Pangliren stared and said, "Are you making fun of us?" Pangliren was very dissatisfied with Zhang Liqiang's behavior. It was not easy to get a ride on the snow mountain eagle, but this guy said there was no snow mountain eagle. This was unforgivable. At least, it was so for Pangliren. "Why don't we ride on the mountain eagle?" Yang Hongwu said. "Zhang Liqiang, where is the mountain eagle now?" When Zhang Liqiang heard this, his eyes widened. He looked at Yang Hongwu and said, "Young master, this." "Young master, are you saying that we're going to catch those mountain eagles?" "Of course, without the mountain eagle, we don't know how long it will take to get to Ice City." Yang Hongwu looked at him and said, "Do you want us to walk to Ice City?" "Well, young master, of course I don't mean that. It's just that the mountain eagle is very strong. I'm afraid it's already at the divine emperor realm. I don't doubt your strength. However, the mountain eagle is a flying exotic beast, and it's at the divine emperor realm. How terrifying! Back then, if I didn't have a teleportation talisman in my hand, I probably would have been devoured by that mountain eagle. Furthermore, there shouldn't be just one mountain eagle. There should be a pair," said Zhang Liqiang. "A pair of mountain eagles." Yang Hongwu's eyes lit up when he heard this. It would be great if there was a pair of mountain eagles. If he could subdue a pair of mountain eagles at the divine emperor realm, his strength would be improved by more than one level. At least, if there was a pair of mountain eagles, one could be used as a flying mount, and the other could help him protect Pangliren and Linming. Although the two girls could perform a joint attack and were very powerful, their cultivation was still too weak. They were far from enough to fight against a divine emperor realm expert. Chapter 1679. One should know that the mountain eagles were terrifying. It was impossible for a real divine emperor to subdue a mountain eagle, let alone a young man who had not even reached the divine emperor realm. It was impossible for him to subdue a mountain eagle, not to mention a pair of mountain eagles. How could he subdue a mountain eagle? Wasn't that mountain eagle just asking for trouble? At that time, not only would he fail to tame the mountain eagle, but his life would also be in danger. "Young master, this mountain eagle is very powerful. Unless there are more than 3 divine emperor realm warriors, it's impossible to subdue this mountain eagle." Zhang Liqiang tried his best to stop Yang Hongwu. After all, he did not want to die. He had not sent the inner elixir of the Black Ice Martin back to the Black Ice Palace. "What are you worried about?" When Yang Hongwu heard Zhang Liqiang's words, he naturally knew what this fellow was thinking. "I'm not worried. Besides, since I dared to do this, I naturally have the confidence to subdue Zhuoshandiao. If I didn't have full confidence, I wouldn't have done it." "Humph, you dare to doubt Brother Yang?" Pangliren was dissatisfied. Pang Lijuan, who was standing at the side, also stared at him with wide eyes. It was as if his doubting Yang Hongwu's strength was a heinous crime. Zhang Liqiang smiled bitterly. He could not afford to provoke him. He had to lower his head. Yang Hongwu looked at him and said, "If you are afraid of death, just tell me where it is. As for your current situation, it is impossible for you to go back to the Black Ice City alone, unless you want to die." "Of course that's not what I meant. Since young master is confident, that would be great." Zhang Liqiang forced a smile and said, "I am lucky to be alive now because of master's elixir. Since master wants to tame the mountain eagle, I have to go." In that case, you can lead the way. You should be able to walk now, right? Yang Hongwu said. I am much better now. I can walk. Zhang Liqiang nodded. Although he had not recovered from his serious injuries, he had not reached the point where he could not walk. Zhang Liqiang walked in front, followed by Yang Hongwu and the two women. Big brother Yang, this speed is too slow, Pang Li said. Why don't we catch an exotic beast and carry him? Yang Hongwu nodded. This was not a bad idea. Looking up, Yang Hongwu saw a steel armor pig. This steel armor pig was a low-tier exotic beast. It wasn't strong, but its body was huge. In this wilderness, it could barely be used as food and a mount. Come here. Yang Hongwu reached out and grabbed the armored pig. Then, he used the secret method of taming beasts and subdued the armored pig in an instant. Alright, your speed is too slow. This armored pig will be your mount, Yang Hongwu said to Zhang Liqiang. Zhang Liqiang did not know whether to laugh or cry. He was the captain of the guards under Goddess Xianbing, but he had been reduced to riding an armored pig. It would be too embarrassing if news of this spread. But now there was indeed no better choice. In this world of ice and snow, the armored pig was indeed not bad. If he was extremely hungry, he could use it as food. All right, let's go. With a wave of his hand, Yang Hongwu placed Zhang Liqiang on the back of the armored pig. As for Yang Hongwu himself, with a thought, a talisman turned into a talisman beast. This talisman beast was a mighty piebald tiger. It looked majestic and was much more handsome and mighty than the armored pig. Zhang Liqiang's eyes widened. This method, turning a talisman into a beast, this method was too amazing. Was this the legendary talisman beast? The more he thought about it, the more he couldn't understand the young man in front of him. The young man had many tricks up his sleeves. He was an alchemist and had a powerful talisman. Moreover, even though this armored pig wasn't strong and had a low level, it wouldn't be easy for even a beast tamer to tame it. Look at Yang Hongwu. He grabbed the armored pig and struck it with some kind of incantation, causing it to become extremely obedient, as if it had gained sentience. One should know that the armored pig was a very stupid exotic beast. The possibility of it gaining intelligence was too small. Could it be that this young man in front of him was a powerful beast tamer? Thinking of this, Zhang Liqiang could not help but recall Yang Hongwu's words about subduing Zhuoshandiao. He had enough confidence. The possibility of this young man in front of him being a beast tamer was very high. Moreover, he should have a powerful beast tamer treasure in his hands. If not, how could he dare to boast? This young man was really incredible. Who knew how terrifying the power behind him was? If this young man was a void dragon, the possibility was even higher. Void dragons were born with powerful dragon aura. They had a great pressure on any exotic beast. Bloodline suppression. Exotic beasts were different from human cultivators. They had an innate fear of dragons. This came from their bloodline. The pressure from the depth. It was rumored that the realm of the gods was a space created by a mighty dragon. As a result, all the living beings in this world respected the dragon clan. This was also the reason why the dragon clan was so powerful and possessed such shocking talent. Because this world was created by a dragon expert, the realm of the gods was originally revered by dragons. As for whether this was true or not, no one knew. It was just a rumor. However, there was one thing that was indisputable. Dragons were really powerful. In the entire realm of the gods, the most powerful beings that had ever appeared were dragons. Big Brother Yang, is this the legendary talisman beast? Big Brother Yang, can you transform into a flying talisman beast? Like a phoenix or something? Pang Liren looked at the talisman beast that Yang Hongwu had transformed into and was pleasantly surprised. Yang Hongwu shook his head and said, "Ordinary talisman beasts are no problem. As for phoenixes, I can't." "Why not?" "Big Brother Yang, you're so powerful." Pang Liren said, "I want to ride a phoenix." Cough cough. To create this kind of talisman seal, You need the spiritual blood of an exotic beast. I don't have the spiritual blood of a phoenix. Of course, I can't create a phoenix talisman beast, Yang Hongwu said. Although he was already a powerful talisman master, no matter how powerful a talisman master was, it was impossible to create a talisman beast out of thin air. Pang Liren was very disappointed when she heard this. I see. Chapter 1680. Snow Mountain Eagle is fine too. Big Brother Yang, can you make it? Pang Liren was pleasantly surprised and immediately took the spirit blood of the Snow Mountain Eagle. Yang Hongwu glared at him. This damn Zhang Liqiang, he didn't have any eyesight at all. He was purely looking for trouble. Of course. Yang Hongwu nodded. In fact, Yang Hongwu's current strength had already reached the peak of the 8th level Divine Lord realm. He was much stronger than before. Making a spirit talisman of the Snow Mountain Eagle was not a difficult thing. Of course, the talisman beast that was transformed from the talisman was not that powerful. After all, to truly create a powerful talisman and use it to transform into a talisman beast for battle, the amount of dermic powers expended was not little. The strength of a symbol beast was determined by the amount of spiritual blood used to create the symbol beast's spiritual talisman, the amount of spiritual power contained within the spiritual blood, and the most important factor was the amount of Fa or spiritual power that was poured into the spiritual talisman. If the spiritual power that was poured into the spiritual talisman, the more spiritual power poured into the spirit talisman, the stronger the spirit beast transformed from the spirit talisman. Therefore, to make a spirit beast spirit talisman that was really used for battle was not so simple. However, it was enough to make a spirit beast spirit talisman as a flying mount. Then what are we waiting for? Big Brother Yang, quickly make the spirit talisman. I can't wait anymore, Pang Liren said. Big Brother Yang, can I? Pang Lijuan hesitated for a moment and looked at Yang Hongwu. She obviously wanted it too. Yes, it won't take long. It's not a spirit talisman used for battle. It's very simple to use it as a flying mount. It'll be done in a while. Yang Hongwu said and took the bottle of spirit blood. Then, Yang Hongwu waved his hand and the jade bottle of spirit blood exploded. The spirit blood floated in the void. Both of Yang Hongwu's hands flickered continuously as he threw out a series of hand seals. The spirit blood swam around in the void, transforming into a series of mysterious runes. These runes gathered together continuously, forming 2 talisman seals in the blink of an eye. The 2 talismans fell into Yang Hongwu's hands. Seeing this scene, Zhang Liqiang's eyes widened in disbelief. This was too amazing, too shocking, too unbelievable. This was not something an ordinary person could do. This method of refining talismans was too shocking. What kind of talisman crafting technique was this? It was simply unheard of. These 2 talismans are the talismans of the talisman beasts carved on the Snow Mountain. Drip your blood on them, and they will become your beast mount. Yang Hongwu handed the 2 talismans to Pang Liren and Pang Lijuan. That's great. This is a talisman beast talisman. Pang Liren was overjoyed. After receiving the talisman, she immediately activated it. In an instant, a Snow Mountain Eagle appeared. Pang Liren jumped up and landed on the back of the Snow Mountain Eagle. Seeing this, Pang Lijuan did the same. She activated the talisman and turned into another Snow Mountain Eagle. The 2 girls sat on the back of the Snow Mountain Eagle and cheered like children. Yang Hongwu secretly shook his head. These 2 girls were still too young. They were too naive and did not know the sinister intentions of the world. If he was not by their side, he did not know what these 2 girls would encounter. However, this was pardonable. After all, the 2 girls had always been in a closed environment. In Shepherding Town, they had never been to the outside world and had never seen the sinister side of the world. In fact, the world of cultivation was very cruel, very cruel. Of course, Yang Hongwu was not too good to tell Pang Liren and Pang Lijuan directly. Brother Yang, you come too. Let's ride on the snow mountain eagle together, Pangliren said to Yang Hongwu. Yang Hongwu shook his head and waved his hand. You can ride by yourself. I have this piebald tiger. Pangliren was a little disappointed when she heard this. She secretly stomped her feet. In fact, she wanted to ride with Yang Hongwu. However, Yang Hongwu did not understand the situation, which made her depressed. Pang Lijuan also smiled. Then, Pang Lijuan flew up from the back of the snow mountain eagle and landed behind Yang Hongwu. She and Yang Hongwu rode on the piebald tiger together. Pangliren pouted when she saw this. She also kept the snow mountain eagle and got on the back of the piebald tiger. Yang Hongwu was speechless. These two sisters, really. One moment they wanted the snow mountain eagle, and the next moment they did not want to ride it. Zhang Liqiang stood at the side and did not say anything. He wanted to ride the snow mountain eagle. After all, this armored pig was too embarrassing. However, he did not dare to say it out loud. Just like this, time passed very quickly. The group soon arrived in front of a big mountain. This place was not like the previous place where it was covered in ice and snow. On the contrary, it was like a paradise on earth. The vegetation here was lush and the spiritual energy here was very abundant. Outside this big mountain, it was bone-chilling cold. Here, it was spring. Outside the mountain, it was winter. Here, it was the turn of spring and summer. It was as if everything had come to life. One was the sky and the other was the ground. The huge contrast was very surprising. It's so beautiful here. The spiritual energy here is so rich. It's much better than the shepherding town. Pangliren said in surprise. Yes, yes. If you cultivate here, you can advance 1,000 miles in a day. Pang Lijuan said. Is it here? Yang Hongwu felt two powerful auras. They were the auras of exotic beasts. These two powerful auras were definitely at the level of divine emperors. Yes, master. The two Zhuo mountain eagles were encountered in this big mountain. Zhang Liqiang said. Zhang Liqiang was still a little worried when he said this. After all, those two Zhuo mountain eagles were at the level of divine emperors. Once they encountered them, they would be in big trouble. If Yang Hongwu could not deal with them, they would probably die here. This was the last thing Zhang Liqiang wanted to see. However, now that they had entered this big mountain, they might have been targeted by the Zhuo mountain eagles. The Zhuo mountain eagles were exotic beasts at the level of divine emperors. They were extremely powerful. If a stranger entered their territory, how could they not sense it? What about them? Therefore, even if they wanted to leave now, it was already too late. They had already been targeted by the Zhuo mountain eagles. Chapter 1681. In this way, they only needed to deal with one Zhuo mountain eagle. Moreover, the male Zhuo mountain eagle had to protect the female Zhuo mountain eagle and the young Zhuo mountain eagle. In this way, the success rate was much higher than usual. Zhuo mountain eagles were not like ordinary cultivators. They would go crazy in order to protect their children. As long as they could catch the young Zhuo mountain eagle first, they would definitely be able to make the Zhuo mountain eagle hesitate. Once they succeeded, they could get several Zhuo mountain eagles. If there was such an opportunity on a normal day, Zhang Liqiang would probably wake up laughing in his dreams. After all, if he could catch a Zhuo mountain eagle as a mount, it would be a very honorable thing. However, at this time, he was not thinking about this. He wanted to go back to the Black Ice Palace as soon as possible and give the inner elixir of the Black Ice Marten to the Black Ice Holy Lady. Otherwise, he could ask Yang Hongwu to refine the Black Ice Holy Elixir to heal the goddess. Let's go up. Yang Hongwu waved his hand and said. The Zhuo mountain eagle was indeed a very good flying mount. Moreover, there were a total of 4 Zhuo mountain eagles, 1 male and 1 female. They were a pair of adult Zhuo mountain eagles. There were also 2 young Zhuo mountain eagles that could be trained well. Yang Hongwu decided to catch more exotic beasts and use them as battle pets to protect his women. This was a good choice. Interesting. Yang Hongwu narrowed his eyes after walking for a short distance. What's wrong, Brother Yang? Is there anything interesting? Pang Liren asked hurriedly when she heard Yang Hongwu's words. We are not the only ones who are eyeing this pair of Zhuo mountain eagles. Others are also eyeing this pair of Zhuo mountain eagles. They are not weak. Yang Hongwu said. Is that so? Then we can't be slow. Otherwise, the Zhuo mountain eagles will be taken away by others. Wouldn't our efforts be in vain? Pang Liren said again. Pang Liren was like a child who had not grown up. She was very innocent. Don't worry. This pair of Zhuo mountain eagles are not weak. It's not easy to catch them. Moreover, once they are angered, even a peak divine emperor warrior will not be able to deal with them. Yang Hongwu smiled. He was very confident about this. Zhuo mountain eagles were exotic beasts from antiquity times. However, how could it be so easy to subdue them? Even for a truly powerful beast tamer, it would not be an easy task to subdue a pair of Zhuo mountain eagles. However, their strength wasn't bad. One of them was a mid-divine emperor, while the others weren't divine emperors. However, the weakest one was a fifth divine monarch. There were 5 of them in total. Their physiques and the secret techniques they cultivated should be combined with the strength of the 5 elements. See. These 5 people had been eyeing this mountain eagle for more than a day or two. S2. If they had come at that time, it would have been more likely for them to subdue the Zhuo mountain eagles. At this time, the little mountain eagle was born. It should be close to half a month old and could fly on its own. However, there was still a problem if it wanted to hunt for food on its own. After all, there were many exotic beasts in the god domain that were very powerful. The bloodline of an exotic beast from antiquity times like the Zhuo mountain eagles was very helpful to other exotic beasts. If they could absorb their bloodline, some exotic beasts with lower bloodlines would evolve and become stronger. Therefore, before the young mountain eagle grew up, it would normally not leave the protection of its parents. In other words, before the young mountain eagle reached adulthood, it would stay in the territory of its parents. Once it grew up, it would leave. In fact, if they could steal the Zhuo mountain eagles, it would be the best time to do so before they hatched. Of course, if they wanted to catch an adult Zhuo mountain eagles, it would be best to do so when the Zhuo mountain eagles were giving birth. Is there anyone here? This place is very close to the divine eagle sect. Moreover, the divine eagle sect has a way to tame eagles. In fact, all the snow mountain eagles in the Xianbing divine domain were tamed by the divine eagle sect and sold. It is said that there is an ancient eagle in the divine eagle sect. The divine eagle sect's old ancestor is extremely powerful. The divine eagle sect's old ancestor is also very powerful in taming beasts. The person who came here is probably a disciple of the divine eagle sect. He must be here to subdue the Zhuo mountain eagles, said Zhang Liqiang. Divine eagle sect? Said Yang Hongwu. How far is the divine eagle sect from here? How strong is it? Yang Hongwu was very curious. Who dared to be so bold as to target the Zhuo mountain eagles? One should know that the Zhuo mountain eagles were not as strong as the snow mountain eagles. The strongest snow mountain eagles were half-step divine emperors. Although the Zhuo mountain eagles were not the strongest, it was already at the divine emperor realm. Both of the Zhuo mountain eagles were at the same level. Even though the female Zhuo mountain eagle had just hatched not long ago and had yet to recover its strength was still quite terrifying. If the 2 Zhuo mountain eagles went crazy, even a peak divine emperor realm expert would have to avoid them. The divine eagle sect is the 3rd most powerful force in the Xian ice divine realm. However, this is just the ranking on the surface. In fact, according to my guess, the divine eagle sect is the most powerful force aside from the Xian ice divine palace. Perhaps, the divine eagle sect's strength is not much weaker than the Xian ice divine palace. For a long time, the divine eagle sect has not really appeared in the world. However, from the situation of the flying mounts of the divine eagle sect, it can be seen that the Divine Eagle sect is quite powerful. Every 100 years, the Divine Eagle sect will sell a few Divine Emperor Realm flying mount. That's a Divine Emperor Realm flying mount. If an ordinary force has such a powerful flying mount, how could they sell it? Once they have a Divine Emperor Realm flying mount, it means that they have one more Divine Emperor Realm expert. In the entire Divine Realm, there are only a few Divine Emperor Realm experts. Over the years, the Divine Eagle sect has sold a lot of Divine Emperor Realm flying mounts, not to mention the Snow Mountain Eagles. Although the Snow Mountain Eagles are not Divine Emperors, the price of one Snow Mountain Eagle is very high. Zhang Liqiang said. Chapter 1682. Is the Divine Eagle sect so powerful? Pang Liren was also a little shocked. Even a simple person like Pang Liren could feel the terror of the Divine Eagle sect. Then, if we were to snatch this mountain eagle, would we offend the Divine Eagle sect? Pang Liren's tone was a little worried. That's for sure. The people of the Divine Eagle sect want this mountain eagle, and so do we. If we do that, we will definitely go against the Divine Eagle sect. Zhang Liqiang looked at Yang Hongwu and said, Young master, if the other party is really the Divine Eagle sect, then we should give up this mountain eagle. Forget about this Snow Mountain Eagle. However, I can buy a few Snow Mountain Eagles from the Divine Eagle sect as mounts. In that case, returning to the profound ice holy palace would not be difficult. After hearing Zhang Liqiang's words, Yang Hongwu was a little unhappy. He looked at Zhang Liqiang and said, Do you think that I should give up this mountain eagle? Even if the Divine Eagle sect is very powerful and terrifying, I am not to be trifled with. Do you think that I can't afford to offend the Divine Eagle sect? No. Young master, that's not what I meant. It's just that it's not appropriate for us to clash with the Divine Eagle sect now. After all, the Divine Eagle sect is not weak. However, the most important thing for us is to return to the Black Ice City. If we have the help of the Divine Eagle sect, our speed will be much faster. When Zhang Liqiang heard Yang Hongwu's unhappy words, his expression turned ugly. He was very worried, and cold sweat broke out on his forehead. The pressure that Yang Hongwu gave him was too great and terrifying. Although Yang Hongwu's cultivation was weaker than his, the pressure on his body was so terrifying and terrifying. He did not even feel it from the palace master of the Black Ice Palace. The pressure that exploded from Yang Hongwu's body seemed to come from the depths of his soul. If one's strength was not enough, it would be difficult to resist it. Zhang Liqiang suspected that if one's strength was not enough and was only at the Great Emperor realm, he would be crushed to death by this terrifying pressure. Don't worry, I won't go back on my words. If I can't make it in time, I have a way to get there in time. Also, your Xianbing goddess shouldn't be in trouble so easily, right? At the very least, you should be able to persist for a year and a half, right? Yang Hongwu said. Cough, cough. Hearing Yang Hongwu's words, Zhang Liqiang coughed twice. This was too irresponsible. However, this was not his problem after all. Zhang Liqiang could not do anything about it. It was already good enough that Yang Hongwu could help him. Young master, I'm just worried. The city is not safe either. In fact, the Black Ice Divine Palace is not united. Her Highness the Goddess's injury is related to the people of the Black Ice Divine Palace. I am worried that they will attack Her Highness the Goddess. If we return late, she will be in trouble. Don't worry, Yang Hongwu said. My medical skills are still all right. Furthermore, a mere Condor sect is nothing in front of me. Hearing Yang Hongwu's words, Zhang Liqiang did not say anything else. Condor sect is not far from here. Then, how is the Condor sect's strength? According to what you said, the Condor sect is so strong and mysterious. Is the location of the Condor sect that you know of the real location of the Condor sect? Yang Hongwu was very doubtful about this. If the God Condor sect is really the Condor sect, right? If the God Condor sect is really nearby, this mountain eagle has not been taken away. Isn't that strange? This maybe. What young master said is not without reason. That place might just be a base of the Condor sect, Zhang Liqiang said after thinking for a while. Alright, let's go and take a look first. Are these people disciples of the Condor sect? What if they aren't? Yang Hongwu said. The disciples of the Condor sect usually have a condor embroidered on their clothes. According to their strength and status, the color of their clothes and the condor embroidered on their clothes are different, Zhang Liqiang said. If there is a condor embroidered on their clothes, they must be disciples of the Condor sect. Let's go and take a look. Among the 5 people, the strongest is a middle divine emperor and the weakest is a middle divine monarch. Their physiques and secret techniques are compatible with the power of the 5 element. They should have cultivated a joint attack formation, the 5 elements formation, Yang Hongwu said. This is the aura that I sense. As for their clothes, we will only know when we see them. Brother Yang, you are so powerful. You can even sense what kind of force they are from. Pang Lijuan looked at Yang Hongwu and said with admiration. Zhang Liqiang was also very shocked. He didn't think that Yang Hongwu would be so powerful. His perception was so strong that he couldn't sense it at all. But Yang Hongwu was actually able to sense the other party's strength and the attribute of their cultivation technique. Perhaps even Her Highness the Goddess and the Palace Master of the Mystic Ice Divine Palace could not do this. Thus, it was obvious that Yang Hongwu could not be offended. Such a monstrous talent, such a genius, must have a terrifying force behind him. Once he was offended, the consequences would be unimaginable. This is just a small trick. It is very easy to do this. Yang Hongwu smiled and said, if you want to learn it, you can do it if your force is stronger and your mental strength is stronger. Really? I can do it too? Pang Liren was overjoyed. Yes. Yang Hongwu nodded. Young master, In fact, Zhang Liqiang was also very curious when he heard that Pang Liren could learn this secret technique. Once such a powerful secret technique was learned, one could sense the strength of others. This was very useful in a battle. If he encountered a powerful enemy, he could know the enemy's strength from afar. If he knew that he was not a match for the enemy, he could escape immediately. Thinking of this, Zhang Liqiang felt very bitter. If he had such a secret technique and such an ability, then his former brothers wouldn't have died so many times. You want to learn it too? Yang Hongwu looked at Zhang Liqiang and said, yes, I know. This request is too much. Zhang Liqiang said. Chapter 1683. This is the Aura Concealing Talisman. Yang Hongwu took out a few talismans and handed them to Pang Liren and Zhang Liqiang. Third sister gave them the Aura Concealing Talisman. Aura Concealing Talisman? Young master, this Aura Concealing Talisman is very precious, right? Zhang Liqiang looked at the Aura Concealing Talisman in his hand. The aura of the talisman was obviously not ordinary. These talismans were top-grade talismans. However, when he thought of the time when Yang Hongwu refined the talisman Beast Spirit Talisman, he understood. With Yang Hongwu's current skills, refining a few aura-concealing talismans was nothing. In the past, he could already refine the talisman Beast Spirit Talisman. Compared to those talismans, the aura-concealing talisman was nothing. These talismans are refined by me. They can conceal your aura. Even experts at the peak of the Divine Emperor realm can't sense it. With these talismans, we can hide in the dark and observe the situation. Yang Hongwu said, however, you must not make any noise. The opponent's strength is not weak. Warriors at the Middle Divine Emperor realm are very weak. If there is any noise, they can easily sense it. Before they went up the mountain, Yang Hongwu reminded them. After all, Pang Liren was very active. If she made any noise at the critical moment, it would be troublesome. Although he wanted to obtain this pair of mountain eagles as his mounts, he had to face these people in the end. He was not afraid of these 2 people. However, if he hid in the dark and waited for these 5 people and the mountain eagle to mutually injure each other, it would be less troublesome. It would be better if he could save some energy. Don't worry, Brother Yang. I won't make any mistakes. Pang Liren knew that Yang Hongwu was talking about her, so she promised. Me too. However, I am worried about this guy. Pang Lijuan said, who knows if he is with those people? After all, we don't know him well. If he wants to scheme against us, it will be troublesome. Hearing Pang Lijuan's words, Zhang Liqiang smiled bitterly in his heart. However, he was not too angry. It was normal to suspect him like this. After all, it was a matter of great importance. He was not related to Yang Hongwu and the other 2, so it was reasonable to suspect them. If it was true, then it was reasonable. It was indeed risky for them. Master, I swear that I'm not with them. I'm the leader of the guards of Her Highness Xianbing Goddess, unless they're with Her Highness Goddess. However, Her Highness Goddess doesn't have a middle godly emperor. Even Her Highness Goddess is only at the initial godly emperor realm. Emperor realm, divine emperor realm. Emperor realm. Yang Hongwu was surprised. Originally, Yang Hongwu guessed that the Xianbing Goddess was one of the women. However, it seemed unlikely. If she was one of his women, it would be impossible for her to be an early divine emperor. Their strength wouldn't have increased that much. Very fast. Unless it was Pan and I. After all, Pan and I was the strongest. But it was impossible for Pan and I to appear here. Moreover, if it was Pan and I, she probably wouldn't be so disdainful to say her name. More importantly, if the master of the demon area was Zetian, Zetian would not know that Pan and I was his divine emperor realm. She would not target Xian, Ice Goddess. Of course, it was not certain whether there was Zetian in the demon area. Who was Xian, Ice Goddess? Yang Hongwu was not sure whether she was one of his divine emperors. After all, it was not impossible, although the probability was very small. Well, don't say anything more. I believe you. Yang Hongwu patted Zhang Liqiang's shoulder and said, even if you want to scheme against me, I am not afraid. No one has ever had a good ending after betraying me. When Yang Hongwu said this, although his tone was very calm, the strong confidence and the terrifying killing intent in his words made people's hearts numb. Zhang Liqiang felt frightened and terrified. This was the symbol of absolute strength. Could be seen how powerful Yang Hongwu was. If they really dared to betray him and harm him, they would face Yang Hongwu's crazy revenge. Such a person would treat his own people very well, but treat his enemies very horribly. Especially when it came to traitors, he would be even crueler than his enemies. Although Zhang Liqiang was not Yang Hongwu's subordinate and did not intend to harm him, he could still feel the terrifying coldness. Well, let's go. Yang Hongwu waved his hand and the 4 of them instantly disappeared and appeared on top of an ancient tree. On this ancient tree they could see an ancient tree opposite them. That ancient tree was very tall and lush. Looking from afar, that ancient tree was so tall that it reached the clouds. It was much bigger than the ancient tree that the 4 of them were on. That's a mountain eagle, 2 mountain eagles and 2 smaller ones. Pang Liren whispered. It was obvious that Pang Liren was very excited at this moment. That mountain eagle was very mighty, very beautiful, and very domineering. Yang Hongwu knew that if this mountain eagle transformed into its original gigantic body, it would be enough to blot out the sky. This mountain eagle was not small at all compared to the legendary Kuan Pung. Quiet down, it won't be good if they hear us. At this time, Pang Lijuan couldn't help but knock her sister's head. Okay. Pang Liren stuck out her tongue and whispered. Zhang Liqiang looked at the 5 people with astonishment in his eyes. That was because he really knew the leader. Not only did he know him, but he was also very familiar with him. That person was his brother, his biological brother, his deceased biological brother. Back then, he saw with his own eyes that his brother died in front of him. He even buried his brother's corpse with his own hands. However, he did not expect that his brother would appear in front of him at this time. Moreover, it was so real. He also wondered if it was fake and if he had seen wrongly. However, everything in front of him was real. It was real. It was definitely not fake. As an elder brother, how could he not recognize his biological brother? That was his brother, Zhang Liba. He could not understand why his brother, Zhang Liba, was not dead. Moreover, his strength had become so powerful and terrifying. He even became a disciple of the Divine Eagle sect. It seemed like his position in the Divine Eagle sect was not low. Young master, I know that person. He is my dead brother, Zhang Liba. Zhang Liqiang smiled bitterly. Chapter 1684. Are you sure this is your brother? Yang Hongwu frowned and asked. I'm sure. He's my brother. There's no mistake about it, Zhang Liqiang said. No matter what, you can't act rashly now. Yang Hongwu looked at Zhang Liqiang and said, what a joke. At this time, he definitely couldn't let Zhang Liqiang go out. Regardless of whether he was Zhang Liqiang's brother or not, he couldn't let Zhang Liqiang ruin his plan. Although Yang Hongwu was confident that he could deal with the 5 of them, Yang Hongwu didn't want to be too troublesome and waste too much time. If the 5 of them didn't fight with Zhuo Shandiao as expected, and if they discovered him in advance and used their trump cards to deal with him, he would be in big trouble. Moreover, Pang Liren and Pang Lijuan were too weak. Even if they used a combination attack, they weren't familiar with it. Therefore, Yang Hongwu was worried about the safety of the 2 girls. He wanted to wait for the 5 of them to attack before he acted. It would be best if he waited until the 5 of them and Zhuo Shandiao were both injured. Then, he would be the Oriole. At this moment, Zhang Liba had already arrived in front of the ancient tree. He looked at the old nest of Zhuo Shandiao and narrowed his eyes. Big brother, are we going to attack? One of Zhang Liba's subordinates asked. No, I feel that something is wrong. It seems like someone is watching us. Zhang Liba's senses were very strong. In the past, he had experienced countless life and death situations because of his strong senses. Someone is watching us? One of them said. Big brother, I don't feel that way. Me too. I don't feel anything. 4th brother, you have the God's Eye technique. Use your God's Eye technique to check. At this moment, Zhang Liba said to a man beside him. Yes, big brother. 4th brother nodded. A beam of light shot out from his eyes. It was obvious that he had activated his eye technique. Oh no, it's the eye technique. Young master, I'm afraid we're going to be exposed. Zhang Liqiang was very nervous when he saw the man activating his eye technique. Don't worry, it's just a mere eye technique. You're dreaming if you think you can see through my concealment technique. Yang Hongwu smiled gently. This kid's eye technique was not bad, but in front of him, it paled in comparison. It was nothing. With a thought from Yang Hongwu, a surge of energy blended into the surroundings, forming an array formation. This array formation instantly enveloped the 4 of them. Yang Hongwu had seen the Delusion Breaker Eye before, which was also known as the Delusion Breaker Eye. It was a cat's eye skill that could see through all illusions. Of course, there was an even more powerful eye skill, which was full of destruction. It was the Dharma Eye of Annihilation. If Yang Hongwu wanted to make a move, he could destroy his eye sorcery in an instant with his Dharma Eye of Annihilation. He could even devour the power of his eye sorcery. However, Yang Hongwu did not want to act rashly and alert the enemy. He wanted to wait for the right time. Yang Hongwu could see that Zhang Liba was being very careful. At this moment, Zhang Liba was fully focused. He was circulating his spiritual power in his body, ready to launch an attack at any time. His aura had been raised to the peak. It could be said that Zhang Liba was in his strongest state at this moment. Although Yang Hongwu was not afraid of him and could defeat him, he would have to pay a great price. Moreover, this was not his main objective. If he were to confront Zhang Liba and the other four now, it would be troublesome to subdue Zhuoshanjiao. These two Zhuoshanjiao were equivalent to divine emperors. They had already developed spiritual intelligence and naturally knew how to judge the situation. However, this place was a very good place for Zhuoshanjiao to cultivate. This place was very helpful for the growth of Zhuoshanjiao. Yang Hongwu discovered that the ancient tree that the mountain eagle had built its nest on wasn't that simple. This tree contained a majestic vitality that surprised Yang Hongwu. This giant tree should be an ancient tree from the ancient times. The vitality contained within the ancient tree made Yang Hongwu astonished. The majestic vitality reminded Yang Hongwu of Nini and the divine tree of creation that he had obtained. He had extracted too much of the divine tree of creation's chi of creation, and it had not recovered yet. Nini was also in a deep sleep. Therefore, he had no way to ask Nini about this ancient tree. However, Yang Hongwu felt that there was something wrong with this ancient tree. Perhaps this ancient tree originally had spiritual intelligence. However, due to some special reasons, this spiritual intelligence had been obliterated. Therefore, Yang Hongwu could not sense this spiritual intelligence of this ancient tree. However, even if this ancient tree's spiritual intelligence had been obliterated, it could not hide the powerful spiritual intelligence and vitality of this ancient tree. Seeing Yang Hongwu staring at the ancient tree in the distance, Pangliren curiously asked, "Big brother Yang, what's wrong?" "That ancient tree is not simple." Yang Hongwu said. "That ancient tree? Isn't that an especially large ancient tree?" Pangliren asked. "There's nothing strange about it." Yang Hongwu smiled and said, "You'll know after we deal with Zhuoshanjiao. That ancient tree's vitality is very strong, much stronger than other big trees. If I'm not wrong, the reason why this mountain is so full of vitality and it's like spring all year round is probably because of that ancient tree." At this time, Zhang Liqiang also spoke. Yang Hongwu looked at him in surprise. He did not expect him to be so knowledgeable. "That's right." Yang Hongwu nodded. At this time, Zhang Liba's subordinate, Old Four of the Divine Eagle sect, also finished checking the surroundings. Old Four said, "Big brother, there's no problem. I've used my eye technique to check the surroundings. There's no one else." "No." Zhang Liba said, "There's a familiar aura. It's someone I know." Yang Hongwu naturally heard Zhang Liba's words. Could it be that he had discovered Zhang Liqiang? Thinking of this, Yang Hongwu frowned slightly. If that was the case, he was afraid that he would have to take action. "It's there, this is." Suddenly, Zhang Liba's gaze fell on a branch of the ancient tree. There was a 7-colored jade belt hanging there. This jade belt was not a treasure. It was just an ordinary decoration. That was dropped when I was chased by Zhuoshanjiao. I didn't expect it to fall here. Zhang Liqiang frowned. Zhang Liba naturally knew about this jade belt. This jade belt was left behind by his mother. He and his brother each had one. Chapter 1685. Big brother, this is just an ordinary jade belt. It's not a big deal. This jade belt might have fallen here when the mountain eagle went out to hunt for food. It doesn't have any powerful aura on it. Big brother, you don't have to worry at all. At this time, Lin Fan said. A disciple from the Divine Eagle sect said. "Yeah, big brother. It's normal for such a strong beast like the mountain eagle to hunt for food and capture humans." Another disciple nodded. Zhang Liba was in pain. His brother's jade belt had fallen here. This meant that his brother was definitely dead. He died in the hands of the mountain eagle. He knew how important this jade belt was to his brother. Zhang Liba reached out and took out another jade belt. "Big brother, this jade belt is exactly the same." At this moment, his 4 subordinates exclaimed. "Big brother, this jade belt was left behind by my mother. One is with me, the other is with my brother." Zhang Liba said. "That jade belt should be my brother's. Now that it's here, it means that my brother is probably dead." He died in the hands of the mountain eagle. Boss, this. When the four of them heard this, they looked at each other. This was a huge grudge. Their boss's elder brother had been killed by this mountain eagle. However, their mission this time was to capture this mountain eagle. If their plan failed, they would be in big trouble. Big brother, you can't be impulsive at this time. We have to capture the mountain eagle. Moreover, we have to capture it alive. This is a serious matter. If we fail this mission, we won't have a good ending when we return. Seeing how angry Zhang Liba was, Old Four tried to persuade him. Old Four said, if Zhang Liba let his emotions affect his decisions at this time and caused this mission to fail, then it would be very troublesome. If the five of them returned to the sect, even if they didn't die, they wouldn't have a good ending. Yeah, big brother. You can't be impulsive at this time. The deceased is already dead. I think he wouldn't want anything to happen to you. Shut up. Zhang Liba said coldly. Is it your turn to teach me how to do things? Zhang Liba was angry. That was his only brother. Although he had deceived his brother and became a member of the Divine Eagle sect, he still had deep feelings for his brother. His brother was dead. If he didn't take revenge, it would be too unreasonable. When they saw that Zhang Liba was angry, they didn't say anything. Zhang Liba's strength was far beyond theirs. He was a mid-divine emperor. Even if the four of them joined forces, they wouldn't be able to defeat him. Therefore, they didn't dare to say anything when they saw Zhang Liba. If they angered Zhang Liba, they would all die. Zhang Liba was an extremely ruthless person. When he went crazy, he would disregard everything. Back then, he had killed someone in front of the sect lord. One could see how overbearing and crazy he was. It seems that your brother still has deep feelings for you. Yang Hongwu looked at Zhang Liqiang and said. Zhang Liqiang sighed and said, Master, if it's possible, I hope you can spare my brother's life. I'm willing to do anything for you. Yang Hongwu smiled when he heard this, and he said, You're too weak, and you're not qualified to be my servant. The reason I saved your life earlier was because you're still useful to me. As for being my servant, your strength is too weak, and your natural talent is too poor. On the other hand, your younger brother's strength isn't bad. It's a pity that your brother's heart isn't right. Although he still has a trace of conscience, this isn't a reason for me to not kill him. To me, any enemy of mine will not have a good ending. Just like what Brother Yang said, we have to be merciless when dealing with our enemies. Pang Li said, Haha, that's right. If your brother knows what's good for him, I'll spare his life for your sake. But if he doesn't, he'll die. Yang Hongwu said casually as if he had just killed Zhang Liba. Waiting for someone was just a trivial matter. Zhang Liqiang was very surprised. Yang Hongwu seemed to have already defeated his brother Zhang Liba. Zhang Liba was a mid-stage divine emperor. Moreover, as a disciple of the Condor sect, everyone should have their own battle pet. His brother was at the intermediate divine emperor realm. His battle pets would not be weak. The weakest one would be at the early stage of the divine emperor realm. The other four were not at the divine emperor realm. But if their battle pets worked together, they would not be weak. This was also the reason why Zhang Liba, an intermediate divine emperor, and four other warriors who had not even reached the divine emperor realm, dared to capture two Mount Condors. After all, they had battle pets. Thank you, Master. Zhang Liqiang only hoped that Zhang Liba would be wise. But he knew that Zhang Liba would not give up on the Mount Condors. On the other side, the Mount Condors appeared in the sky. Humans, get out of my territory. Zhang Liba was at the intermediate divine emperor realm, which was more powerful than the Mount Condors. As for the other four, the male Mount Condors did not care about them. For a Mount Condors at the early stage of the divine emperor realm, human cultivators who had not reached the divine emperor realm were food. Zhang Liba's strength was clearly not weak. If it was any other day, he would have definitely made a move. However, the current situation was special. The female's mountain eagle's strength had yet to recover, and she also had 2 children. Hence, the male's mountain eagle did not want to take the risk. Mount Condors. Zhang Liba looked at the Mount Condors and said, "Where did you get the jade belt? Where is the owner of the jade belt?" The Mount Condors squinted and flapped its huge wings. "I have never seen it." The male Mount Condors said, "I don't care about the jade belt. Humans, get out of my territory, or I will not be polite. It seems that the owner of the jade belt has died in your hands. Do you know that the owner of the jade belt is my only relative in this world? You killed my brother. Today, I will kill you to avenge my brother." Chapter 1687. Good timing. I've already calculated this. You won't be able to escape today. Zhang Liba shouted when he saw the female's mountain eagle move. Everything was going according to his plan. He couldn't kill these 2 mountain eagles. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to explain himself when he returned. However, he could cripple these 2 mountain eagles. After all, the sect only wanted to capture the 2 mountain eagles or bring them back. As for whether the 2 mountain eagles were crippled or not, they did not say. Furthermore, he knew very well that the 2 mountain eagles were captured so that they could be used to breed the descendants of the Zwa mountain eagles. It didn't matter whether they were crippled or not. As long as these 2 mountain eagles could reproduce, everything would be fine. When the 2 mountain eagles attacked together, a talisman appeared in Zhang Liba's hand. This talisman emitted a dazzling light that illuminated the entire area. The light exploded and formed a huge cage. This cage instantly trapped the 2 mountain eagles within it. "Damned human!" The male's mountain eagle roared. This cage trapped the Zwa mountain eagle within, making it unable to move at all. This talisman. Yang Hongwu saw that Zhang Liba had actually used a talisman. Furthermore, this talisman gave him a very strange feeling. This talisman was actually extracting the life force of the Zwa mountain eagle. The more the Zwa mountain eagle struggled, the faster its strength and life force were extracted. Furthermore, the stronger the energy extracted from the cage formed by the talisman, the stronger the cage became. This was why Yang Hongwu was so shocked by this talisman. Furthermore, the runes on the talisman contained an ancient power. This reminded Yang Hongwu of the 8 great divine talismans. Each of the 8 great divine talismans contained supreme power and the power of the Great Path. If anyone could truly master a divine talisman, they would be able to possess supreme power. In the past, Yang Hongwu had still been weak and his cultivation base hadn't been strong enough. At that time, he had already known that the 8 great divine talismans were very powerful. However, Yang Hongwu now realized that the 8 great divine talismans were far more powerful and terrifying than he had imagined. Every single one of the 8 great divine talismans contained a kind of cosmic origin power. Yang Hongwu even guessed that each of the 8 great divine talismans was the core of a universe and a symbol of a great cosmos. The 8 great divine talismans were like the imperial jade seals of 8 dynasties. The imperial jade seal was the symbol of an empire, and this imperial jade seal was very special. If one could truly control the imperial jade seal, they could control the power of the entire empire. The talisman that Zhang Liba had used was not a talisman that he knew of. However, the power within it was very similar to the power of the divine talisman that he had encountered before. Could this talisman be one of the 8 great divine talismans? Yang Hongwu shook his head. This was simply impossible. The 8 great divine talismans were too powerful. This talisman would lose its effect after being used once. A real divine talisman wouldn't lose its effect after being used once. Therefore, this wasn't the 8 great divine talismans. However, the power contained in this talisman was too strong. However, this talisman didn't contain the power of the 8 great divine talismans. Yang Hongwu guessed that this talisman should be one of the imitations of the 8 great divine talismans. In other words, the talisman on this talisman possessed the power of the divine talismans. Even if it wasn't a real divine talisman, Yang Hongwu's eyes lit up. This meant that he had obtained information about the divine talisman. Yang Hongwu had obtained a lot of information about the divine talismans in the past. However, he had never found the existence of the divine talisman. The power of the divine talisman seemed to be everywhere. However, the location of the real divine talisman couldn't be found at all. How could Yang Hongwu not be excited when he obtained information about the divine talisman once again? Now, Yang Hongwu's strength would soon reach a bottleneck. Once he reached the peak of the divine emperor realm, it would be extremely difficult for him to break through and enter the divine emperor realm. Yang Hongwu knew that every time his cultivation reached a bottleneck, it would be thousands of times more difficult for him to break through than for others. Moreover, it was extremely difficult to break through each realm. Yang Hongwu's strength was not enough now. Whether the lord of the demon region was Zetian or not, Yang Hongwu was sure that Zetian's strength was far beyond his current level. He was not someone he could deal with now. His strength had to be improved. Moreover, it had to be improved quickly. If he couldn't improve his strength in the shortest time possible, he might really die in the hands of Zetian this time. After all, Zetian's cultivation was at least at the peak of the divine emperor realm. He might have even surpassed the divine emperor realm and entered the realm of the emperor. How powerful was the emperor? How terrifying was he? The gap between the emperor and the divine emperor was not small. The divine emperor was powerful. However, Yang Hongwu's current strength was at the peak of the 8th level divine emperor realm. He could still contend against the divine emperor realm. If he was only at the intermediate divine emperor realm, or even at the late divine emperor realm, he wouldn't be able to kill Yang Hongwu. However, if he was at the peak of the divine emperor realm, he might be able to kill Yang Hongwu. Zetian's strength must have reached that level. One should know that Zetian's incarnation was already so powerful. If it wasn't for the fact that Zetian's incarnation was in the Tsangshan continent and was restricted by the power of law, Yang Hongwu wouldn't be able to deal with it. Therefore, one could imagine how powerful and terrifying Zetian's real body was. However, if Yang Hongwu obtained the divine talisman now and refined the power of the divine talisman, Yang Hongwu's strength would advance by leaps and bounds. Yang Hongwu even guessed that the power of the divine talisman was stronger and more terrifying than the life seal. Yang Hongwu wanted to contend against Zetian in the shortest time. One was to obtain the complete life seal, and the other was to obtain a divine talisman. As long as he obtained one of the two, he would have the power to deal with Zetian. When he was in the Tsangshan continent, although there was the aura and power of the divine talisman, the Tsangshan continent was just a low-level world. It couldn't bear the power of the divine talisman. Even if the divine talisman was sealed, it wasn't something a low-level world could bear. However, the divine domain was different. Although the divine domain was not a top-level world, as long as the divine talisman was sealed, the divine domain could bear the power of the divine domain. You all wait here. I will go and save Zhao Shandiao. Yang Hongwu turned his head and said to Pang Li. Chapter 1688. The moment Yang Hongwu appeared, Zhang Liba noticed him. Who is it? Zhang Liba saw that there was someone who dared to appear in front of him at this moment. What shocked him was that the other party's cultivation was only at the 8th level Divine Lord realm. How audacious! However, this lad was only at the Divine Lord realm, and yet, he dared to be so arrogant. He was so arrogant. He did not know what was good for him. Break! Yang Hongwu stretched out his hand and struck out a seal. With a shout, a crack appeared on the cage formed by Zhang Liba's talisman. Zhang Liba's eyes widened at the sight. How is this possible? He exclaimed. He knew the strength of the cage formed by the talisman. The talisman was not an ordinary talisman. There were only a few of them in the entire Divine Eagle sect. Now, the sect leader had taken out one of them for the sake of capturing the two Zhuoshanjiao. Zhuoshanjiao's mission was foolproof. However, the situation before his eyes left him in a daze. A Divine Lord Realm warrior had actually managed to easily break a crack in the cage formed by the talisman. Furthermore, it continued to crack and show signs of being destroyed. How could he not be shocked? Damn it, little bastard! You are courting death. Soon, Zhang Liba regained his senses. If this continued, the cage would be destroyed. If the cage with talismans was destroyed by him, then all his efforts would be in vain. At that time, he wouldn't have any treasures left. Zhang Liba didn't have any treasures left. At that time, he would not be able to capture the Zhuoshanjiao. After all, the Zhuoshanjiao was a flying beast. Moreover, it was a very powerful flying beast. It was not as simple as a snow mountain eagle. Once the Zhuoshanjiao broke free, it would be impossible to capture the Zhuoshanjiao unless one was a peak divine emperor or had the space or time secret skill. Zhang Liba waved the spear in his hand again and stabbed towards Yang Hongwu. Yang Hongwu was only at the Divine Lord Realm. How dare a mere Divine Lord Realm martial artist act so presumptuously in front of him? He was confident that he could destroy Yang Hongwu's spiritual soul with a single strike. Good timing. Yang Hongwu smirked. How could he not feel Zhang Liba's attack? Although this attack was aggressive, Yang Hongwu didn't take it seriously. Just as the spear was about to pierce his body, Yang Hongwu's figure flashed and disappeared. Zhang Liba's attack landed on the crack of the talisman cage. Crack! A crisp sound rang out, and a crack appeared on the talisman cage. Damn it! Zhang Liba's face turned pale when he saw this. This brat was scheming against him. Damn it! Little bastard, I'm going to tear you to shreds. Zhang Liba, who was plotted against, was furious to the extreme. When he saw the jade belt and thought of his brother's death, the hatred and anger in his heart were surging. He had reached his limit. At this moment, the boundless anger finally erupted. His imposing manner became even more ferocious. Zhang Liba's strength had reached a new level in his berserk state. Even Yang Hongwu didn't expect that Zhang Liba's strength would increase under such circumstances. Yang Hongwu frowned. This was going to be troublesome. A crazy middle-stage divine emperor was not easy to deal with. Do I have to use a formation to deal with him? Looking at Zhang Liba, who was rushing towards him, Yang Hongwu's face became solemn. Zhang Liba waved his spear, and the spear's intent sealed the space. The overbearing destructive force locked onto Yang Hongwu. Go to hell! Along with Zhang Liba's roar, the spear finally arrived in front of Yang Hongwu. The space in front of Yang Hongwu was destroyed by the spear. Brother Yang, be careful. At this moment, Pang Liren and Pang Lijuan saw this scene. They were worried and couldn't help but shout. If it wasn't for the fact that Yang Hongwu had set up a formation to isolate the sound before he left, his shout would have been discovered by the others. The two ladies were worried, but Pang Lijuan could still control herself. She believed in Yang Hongwu. Therefore, she held her sister Pang Liren tightly. Yang Hongwu snorted. He looked at the terrifying attack and said, "It's not enough to kill me." After that, Yang Hongwu waved his hand and a huge seal appeared in front of him. It was the life seal. Although the life seal was not in its complete form, it had merged with the fragments of the life seal of the mortal continent. Its power had become stronger and more terrifying. The life seal burst out a dazzling light, covering Yang Hongwu and protecting him. Zhang Liba's spear was instantly blocked by the life seal. Impossible! Zhang Liba screamed. He was very clear about the power of this attack. This was his strongest attack. It had even exceeded his limit. It could be seen how powerful this attack was. He knew that even the sect master would not be able to easily block his attack. Yet, this divine Lord Realm martial artist in front of him easily blocked this attack. Nothing is impossible. Your strength is not enough. Yang Hongwu kept the life seal. Although Zhang Liqiang's attack did not injure Yang Hongwu, the inner world of the life seal had suffered a lot of damage. The space of the mortal continent had collapsed. The power of this attack was indeed terrifying. Yang Hongwu looked calm and collected, but his heart was pained. This damn guy. His attack had exceeded the strength of a middle-stage divine emperor. The power of this attack had reached the strength of a late-stage divine emperor. I don't believe that I can't kill you. Zhang Liba roared and rushed towards Yang Hongwu again. Your opponent now is not me. Yang Hongwu smiled gently. At this moment, the talisman cage had been broken and the two Zhuoshanjiao had broken free from the shackles. Thank you. Zhuoshanjiao said to Yang Hongwu, leave the rest to me. Damn it. At this moment, Zhang Liba reacted. His talisman cage had been broken. Zhang Liba's face was extremely solemn. His mission had failed completely. Without the talisman cage, it was impossible to catch the Zhuoshanjiao. This was all because of this bastard in front of him. Kill him. He must kill him. If he did not kill him, he would not be able to explain himself. Chapter 1689. Little bastard, hurry up and surrender, lest you suffer more. Fourth brother looked at Yang Hongwu and shouted loudly, his tone extremely arrogant. Even your leader is not my match. How dare you be so arrogant? Yang Hongwu did not put the four of them in his eyes. None of them were in the divine emperor realm. Formation, rise. With Yang Hongwu's shout, an array formation appeared. This formation was no longer a simple defensive formation. The moment the formation appeared, it condensed into a huge figure. This huge figure was a huge dragon. What kind of formation is this? Seeing this scene, the four of them had a slight change in expression. They could feel the aura of death from this divine dragon. Die! Yang Hongwu shouted and the huge dragon soared into the sky, pouncing towards the four of them. Damn it! The four of them looked at each other and felt the aura of death. They did not dare to be careless and unleashed their strongest attacks. This was because they knew that if they did not block it with their full strength, this attack would take their lives. However, how could Yang Hongwu's formation be so simple? Yang Hongwu's goal was to kill them all in one blow. Although the divine dragon's attack was overbearing, it was not the real killing move. When the four of them shifted their attention to the divine dragon, Yang Hongwu's second formation was also activated. The second formation was the real killing move. The moment the second formation was activated, countless sabers appeared in the surroundings. This was the incarnation of the Hong Meng saber. With the Hong Meng saber as the core, how terrifying was the massacre formation formed. Endless saber chi churned in the formation. Yang Hongwu released his killing intent and integrated it into the formation. Yang Hongwu cultivated the 10-direction killing fist. Although he did not cultivate the Tao of massacre, his cultivation had already reached the peak of the 8th level Divine Lord realm. His comprehension of the Tao of massacre was also extremely profound. In addition, Yang Hongwu integrated the ominous aura in his inner world into the formation. This formation had become extremely terrifying. Even a divine emperor realm warrior would not be able to break the formation if he entered it. However, this formation was very powerful and overbearing. Its consumption was also very terrifying. As soon as he activated the formation, Yang Hongwu felt that his spiritual power and spiritual power were surging out like a dam being opened. This speed was too shocking. If this continued, it wouldn't be long before more than half of his dermic powers were exhausted. It was also fortunate that the strength of these four people was not very strong. Otherwise, it was likely that after killing them, his own magic power would be sucked dry. Damn it, this is a compound formation. When the four of them finally dispersed the divine dragon, they discovered that the four of them were shrouded in a terrifying killing intent. This killing intent came from the dreadful war saber. The war saber had attracted an endless amount of evil chi. This evil chi made them feel as if they were about to explode. It was as if he had entered a boundless hell. It was terrifying to the extreme. At this moment, the four of them were in complete despair. Just now, they had already exhausted 90% of their strength to fight against the dragon. In the face of this terrifying massacre formation, there was no way for them to resist. Die! Following Yang Hongwu's shout, the massacre formation instantly erupted with killing intent. The Hong Meng saber turned into an endless number of war sabers and slashed towards the four of them. The dreadful evil chi condensed into an Azura killing god. Coupled with the power of the war saber, the four of them did not even have the strength to resist and were killed. Seeing his four subordinates being killed so easily, Zhang Liba, who was fighting with Zhuoshandiao, was enraged. Although these four subordinates weren't strong, they had practiced a set of joint attack formation for a long time. Now, they didn't even have the time to use it before they were killed. Moreover, they were killed so easily. That formation made him extremely shocked. His strength was at the intermediate divine emperor realm. He could kill the four of them alone. However, it was impossible for him to do it so easily. He could see that Yang Hongwu did not expend any energy at all. In fact, he was not injured at all. If Yang Hongwu wanted to use this formation to deal with him, he would not be able to resist it. Thinking of this, Zhang Liba's heart was filled with anger and fear. Run. He had to leave this place. Otherwise, he would die here. At this moment, his life was at stake. Zhuoshandiao, revenge for his brother, he could not care less. Get lost. Zhang Liba struck out with his spear and forced Zhuoshandiao to retreat. His war pet, the soaring winged serpent, instantly turned into a huge flying serpent. Zhang Liba jumped on the soaring winged serpent and was about to leave. Trying to escape? Zhuoshandiao was trapped by Zhang Liba previously and his vitality was almost devoured. He hated Zhang Liba to the core. He knew very well that if he was caught by Zhang Liba, his family would not have a good ending. Therefore, his hatred for Zhang Liba was very deep. How could he let Zhang Liba escape? He instantly appeared in front of Zhang Liba and tried to stop him. Damned feathered beast, get lost. At this point in time, Zhang Liba no longer wanted to be entangled with Zhuoshandiao. He thrust out his spear furiously. This spear was overbearing. It was already the strongest attack that Zhang Liba could unleash at this point in time. His aim wasn't to kill Zhuoshandiao. He was trying to force Zhuoshandiao to retreat and give him a chance to escape. Bam! The spear struck Zhuoshandiao's body and he was sent flying. After all, Zhang Liba was a mid-stage divine king. His attack was not something that Zhuoshandiao could withstand. Zhang Liba, are you trying to leave? Why don't you ask me first? At this moment, Yang Hongwu appeared in front of Zhang Liba. Yang Hongwu's speed was faster than Zhang Liba's. Who are you? Why are you going against me? Zhang Liba looked at Yang Hongwu, his eyes filled with fear. Initially, he was 100% confident that he could capture Zhuoshandiao. However, because of Yang Hongwu's appearance, everything was ruined. Not only that, but his life was also in danger. Who I am is not important, Yang Hongwu said coldly. What's important is that you're going to die here today. Master, don't kill him. At this moment, a voice was heard. It was Zhang Liqiang. He walked out from a tree not far away. Big brother. Zhang Liba looked at Zhang Liqiang and could not believe his eyes. His brother was not dead. Second brother, don't be stubborn, Zhang Liqiang said. Master, please spare my brother's life. I'm willing to be your slave and go through fire and water for you. Chapter 1690. When Zhang Liqiang heard this, he was speechless. He didn't even know that this brat was still alive. Now, in order to save him, he had to lower his voice. However, this brat didn't appreciate it. What was worse was that he even blamed himself. This was simply, this little scoundrel is so unreasonable. Zhang Liqiang, since he wants to die, I'll send him on his way. Yang Hongwu said. Master, Zhang Liqiang still wanted to speak, but he was interrupted by Zhang Liba. Zhang Liqiang, you don't need to be so pretentious. Do you really think that you can defeat me? What other trump cards do you have? Show them to me. I'd like to see how you're going to survive. Yang Hongwu sneered when he heard that. At this moment, Zhang Liba was the only one left. Zhang Liba was seriously injured and his strength was not even half of his peak. Now Yang Hongwu was the only one left. Originally, Yang Hongwu would not have taken him seriously. Moreover, this was his own array formation. This was where Yang Hongwu's greatest confidence lay. Now, his greatest strength was not in alchemy or talismans, but in array formations. As long as there was a formation, Yang Hongwu didn't need to worry about anything. Unless he could find a peak godly emperor to help him, Yang Hongwu didn't need to worry. You're all going to die here today, Zhang Liba said coldly. Zhang Liba waved his hand and threw out a dark green bead. The dark green bead instantly entered the body of the giant tree where the mountain eagle had built its nest. Everyone was confused. However, Yang Hongwu's face fell. This was going to be troublesome. This dark green bead contained a soul. It was a terrifying soul, an evil spirit. Moreover, it was not an ordinary evil spirit. It contained a terrifying power. Yang Hongwu guessed that the body of this evil spirit should be an ancient tree. Yang Hongwu suddenly thought of an ancient tree. It was said that it was the longevity ancient tree, the enemy of the war ancient tree. It was also the most terrifying and evil ancient tree. That was the ancient dark spirit tree. The evil spirit ancient tree could devour the life force of all living beings. Moreover, it was different from ordinary ancient trees. It could travel through the void. Once it appeared in a world, it would continuously devour the life force of that world until it turned into a world of death. Then, the sinister spirit ancient tree would shift through the void and enter another world, and the cycle would repeat. Thus, no matter what world it was, as long as they discovered the existence of the ancient evil spirit tree, they would think of a way to destroy it. They would absolutely not give it any chance. Yang Hongwu guessed that this dark green bead was likely the soul of an ancient dark spirit tree. The giant tree in front of them was not an ordinary giant tree. It contained boundless vitality and great power. However, it did not give birth to intelligence. In other words, it had already given birth to intelligence in the past, but it had been obliterated. If Zhang Liba poured the aura from the bead into this ancient tree, it would not be able to survive. Moreover, if it was the ancient dark spirit tree's intelligence, then it would be really troublesome. Stop him! Yang Hongwu shouted. His body moved and he quickly rushed towards the ancient tree. When Zhuoshandiao heard Yang Hongwu's words, he did not hesitate and rushed towards Zhang Liba. Haha, you want to stop me? Dream on. It's too late. The evil spirit has already merged into the ancient tree. The evil spirit emperor is about to awaken. Zhang Liba laughed loudly. You all think that I am serving the divine eagle sect. Little do you know that my greatest trump card is the evil spirit emperor. The bead just now sealed the soul of the evil spirit emperor. How powerful is the evil spirit emperor? Even in the entire deity plane, no one is his match. 1,000,000 years ago, the evil spirit emperor almost destroyed the entire deity plane. It was also the evil spirit emperor that split the deity plane into two. The deity plane and the demon plane were split into two. As for me, I accidentally entered the primordial battlefield and obtained the bead that sealed the evil spirit emperor. Now you all have forced me to do this. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have released the evil spirit emperor. You all of you are dead. At this moment, Zhang Liba was crazy. Yang Hongwu instantly appeared on top of the giant tree. He wanted to stop and snatch the bead. However, the moment Yang Hongwu touched the bead had already merged into the ancient tree. In the next moment, the giant tree began to tremble, and the originally lush giant tree began to change in an instant. It was no longer emerald green. It was no longer full of vitality. One by one, the leaves began to transform. They turned blood red, with grayish-white colors intertwining with each other. These leaves had become incomparably strange. Not good, my child. At this moment, Zhuoshandiao came back to his senses. He remembered that his child was still in the nest. Without thinking much, he instantly flew up the giant tree. When he caught his child, the giant tree's transformation became even more terrifying. A surge of evil energy erupted from the giant tree. Yang Hongwu looked at the giant tree. His expression changed drastically. This ancient tree had really awakened. Or rather, the evil spirit emperor had awakened. The evil spirit emperor, who could be called an emperor, had terrifying strength. If what Zhang Liba said was true, that the evil spirit emperor was the culprit that caused the deity plane to split and become the current deity plane and demon plane, then how terrifying was his strength? How terrifying was his strength? Even though the evil spirit emperor had just entered the body of the giant tree and had just awakened, his strength was still far from fully recovered. However, he was still very frightening, very frightening. He reckoned that he was truly no match for the evil spirit emperor. We welcome the arrival of the emperor. Haha, I've awakened. I, the evil spirit emperor, have finally awakened. Very good, little guy. You've done well. After the evil spirit emperor had awakened, he naturally wouldn't let Zhuoshandiao fly away. He turned into the giant tree of the evil spirit emperor. It was very terrifying. The original tree branch turned into a giant man. Chapter 1691. Seeing this scene, Yang Hongwu was shocked. What kind of strength did Zhuoshandiao possess? Although he wasn't a peak godly emperor, he was still a godly emperor. But he didn't even have the strength to resist, and was captured by the evil spirit emperor. Moreover, when the evil spirit emperor's branch pierced into Zhuoshandiao's body, Zhuoshandiao's huge body shrank at a speed visible to the naked eye. Yang Hongwu could clearly feel that Zhuoshandiao's vitality was constantly being drained into the evil spirit emperor's body. The evil spirit emperor was getting stronger and stronger. He was recovering and becoming more and more terrifying. The female Zhuoshandiao and the two young Zhuoshandiao didn't have any room to resist and were captured in an instant. Let's go. When Yang Hongwu saw this scene, he knew that he wasn't a match for the evil spirit emperor. The strength of the evil spirit emperor was too terrifying. He simply couldn't resist it. Thus, Yang Hongwu grabbed Zhang Liqiang and disappeared in a flash. He appeared beside Pang Liren and the other two women. Then, Yang Hongwu grabbed Pang Lijuan and the other two women and Zhang Liqiang and used the void traversal technique. They tore the void and escaped 1,000 li away. After Yang Hongwu and the others left, the evil spirit emperor didn't chase after them. Zhang Liba was shocked when he saw the evil spirit emperor's might. He swallowed his saliva and forcibly suppressed the fear in his heart. He looked at the evil spirit emperor and said, "Great emperor, why did you let them go?" The evil spirit emperor glanced at Zhang Liba and said, "Do I need you to tell me what to do?" Zhang Liba was startled when he heard this and hastily said, "Great emperor, I didn't mean that." He did not want to die. One had to know that this was the evil spirit imperial lord. He killed people without batting an eyelid. Zhuoshandiao was killed in a few breaths of time. Even his soul was devoured. There was no trace of life left. He did not want to become the next Zhuoshandiao. "I'll forgive you this time. If there's a next time, the fate of those Zhuoshandiao will be your example." The evil spirit emperor said, "Kid, what do you know? That young man isn't as simple as you see. There's a terrifying power inside his body. This power is very overbearing, very powerful, but it is sealed. Of course, I am afraid. But if I dare to touches him, that powers. But of my current strength, Is not my strength is of's. My strength is still far from recovering to its peak. I don't have any confidence in dealing with that power. S of was thinktessly s emperors. Could that young man be the reincarnation of some peerless expert? Zhang Li asked. You're smart. That young man should be the reincarnation of some peerless expert. His strength is terrifying. He's not much weaker than me when I was at my peak. The evil spirit monarch narrowed his eyes. In the divine realm, there were many terrifying experts who were not weaker than him. He was not wrong about this. Chang Li knew very well that if it weren't for that, his physical body wouldn't have been destroyed back then, and he wouldn't have been sealed away, causing his strength to be greatly reduced. All right. My strength hasn't recovered yet. Kid, I need to recover my strength. So, I need a few servants, and you. Although your strength isn't that great, I don't have anyone I can use now. So, I'll give you this opportunity. You must make good use of it. Thank you, Emperor. It's my honor to be able to serve you. Zhang Liba knelt down and said respectfully. In an unknown small valley, Yang Hongwu and the other three appeared here. Seeing that the evil spirit emperor didn't chase after them, Yang Hongwu heaved a sigh of relief. Zhang Lichang, where is this place? Yang Hongwu looked around and asked. Zhang Lichang looked around and shook his head. Young master, I'm not sure where this place is. Your brother Zhang Liba is really good. I didn't expect him to release such a terrifying and evil demon. I really underestimated him. If I knew this earlier, I would have killed him directly and not give him any chance. Yang Hongwu was also very depressed. In fact, Yang Hongwu was also very depressed. If Yang Hongwu really wanted to kill Zhang Liba, he could have killed Zhang Liba in an instant. That bastard, young master, it's all my fault. If it wasn't for me, that bastard wouldn't have had the chance to release that demon. Zhang Lichang was shocked. Although the demon's strength wasn't as strong as the lord of the demon realm, it wasn't much different. This was a great devil, a terrifying great devil. His appearance could cause great harm to the divine realm. It wouldn't be less than the lord of the demon realm. The evil spirit emperor and the lord of the demon realm weren't good people. Both of them were great demons that could destroy the world. What made Zhang Lichang blame himself was that the reason why the demon was released was related to him. If it wasn't for him, his brother Zhang Liba wouldn't have released the demon. Well, you don't need to blame yourself too much, Yang Hongwu said. Even if it wasn't for you, the demon would have broken out of the seal sooner or later. Yang Hongwu knew very well that although the evil spirit emperor was sealed, in fact, his seal was extremely weak. If it wasn't for that, Zhang Liba wouldn't have been able to release the evil spirit emperor, even if his cultivation was at the intermediate divine emperor realm. Zhang Liba just brought forward the date of the evil spirit emperor's emergence. Big brother Yang, that demon is truly terrifying. It's not the slightest bit weaker than the demon sealed by us, said Pang Li. Brother Yang, I'm afraid that guy has already targeted us. We have to find a way to deal with him. Pang Li Juan said. Now, we're not strong enough. Yang Hongwu smiled bitterly and said, given our current situation, it's a problem to protect ourselves, let alone deal with that guy. Yang Hongwu originally wanted to capture Zhang Liba and ask him about the divine talisman. But now it was impossible. He didn't know when he would be able to reach the divine emperor realm. Only when he reached the divine emperor realm would he have the strength to protect himself. This divine realm was becoming more and more incomprehensible to him. More and more powerful ancient experts had appeared. Chapter 1692. Without the flying mount, it will take us a lot more time to get to Ice City. Yang Hongwu murmured. Where is young master's charm beast? Zhang Liqiang regained his senses and asked. Talisman beast. Although it can support us for a while, it consumes too much energy. One talisman beast is not enough for us to fly too far. Yang Hongwu shook his head and said, If we only rely on the talisman beast, we might as well fly on our own. What a joke. Talisman beasts were not expensive. Besides, the materials needed to refine the talisman beast are quite precious and very energy-consuming. It would be too wasteful if we only use it to travel. That's true. Hearing Yang Hongwu's words, Zhang Liqiang was extremely embarrassed. He had forgotten this point. Refining a talisman beast spirit talisman was not so simple. The materials required were also rather precious. If it was only used to travel, it would indeed be too wasteful. There was simply no one who could afford it. In fact, I am also a formation master. If the space in Ice City was not sealed, I could set up a teleportation formation and teleport there directly. Unfortunately, the space in Ice City has been sealed. There is no way to use the teleportation formation to teleport there. Yang Hongwu said. It seems that we can only walk? Pang Lijuan said. We'd better leave here quickly. If the evil spirit emperor catches up with us, I won't be able to use the void travel secret technique again. Yang Hongwu said. Just now, in order to escape, Yang Hongwu had paid a huge price. The teleportation distance was very far, which required a lot of energy. Now, Yang Hongwu wanted to make a breakthrough in his cultivation in a short period of time. If he had to forcefully use it again like just now, if he used the void travel secret technique again, it would damage his origin. After all, Yang Hongwu had suffered a powerful attack before. Even his inner world had a huge impact. Although it did not directly harm Yang Hongwu, the damage to his inner world was not something that could be recovered in a short period of time. If it happened a few more times, Yang Hongwu's body might be damaged quite a bit. Then what are we waiting for? Let's go. Pang Liren hurriedly nodded. Although Pang Liren was carefree and incomparably naive, she was frightened by the evil spirit emperor just now. The other party's strength was too terrifying. His strength was so tyrannical that it was comparable to the terrifying devil sealed in Shepherding Town. In fact, his strength was even stronger. How terrifying was that? Once it caught up to them, no one would have a good ending. Hence, the few of them headed in the direction that Zhang Liba had pointed out. About 2 hours later, Yang Hongwu and the others arrived at a canyon. In fact, the entire mystic ice domain was not covered in ice and snow. Looking at the canyon in front of him, Yang Hongwu had a bad feeling. In the mystic ice domain, there was a small part that was not covered in ice and snow. Instead, it was full of vitality. In fact, Mystic Ice City was like that. The entire Mystic Ice City was full of spiritual energy. It was not covered by ice and snow, but was full of vitality. It was like a beautiful fairyland. However, the canyon in front of them was not covered by ice and snow, nor was it covered by vegetation. It was very different. There was no vitality at all, as if it was a dead land. As everyone knew, even if it was covered in ice and snow, there would still be vitality in an extremely desolate place. However, Yang Hongwu's divine thought did not find any vitality at all. There was not even a blade of grass or a bug. This was strange. Brother Yang, why did we stop? Pang Liren asked. This place looks familiar. Yang Hongwu did not speak, but Zhang Liqiang spoke. He looked at the canyon in front of him and frowned. You know this place? Yang Hongwu looked at Zhang Liqiang and asked. Suddenly, Zhang Liqiang patted his head and said loudly, I remember now. Where is this place? Yang Hongwu asked. If I remember correctly, this is the most terrifying place in the mystic ice domain. It's the lifeless canyon. Zhang Liqiang said with a dead look on his face. The lifeless canyon? Pang Liren asked. What do you mean? Why do you have to put on such a sad face? Zhang Liqiang smiled bitterly and said, The lifeless canyon, as the name suggests, is a place without vitality. This is a place of death. No one can survive after entering this place. Fortunately, we are just at the edge of this place, so we still have a chance to leave this place. Master, there's no time to lose. Let's retreat quickly. Otherwise, we'll be in trouble once we're trapped. As long as we're shrouded by the lifeless chi in the lifeless canyon, we won't be able to leave this place. As soon as Zhang Liqiang finished speaking, the scenery in front of them changed instantly. They were surrounded by a layer of mist, and they could no longer see the path they came from. The path that could be seen with the naked eye was only a few feet away. It's over. At this moment, Zhang Liqiang was in despair. This fog reminded Yang Hongwu of the dense fog beast. However, this was clearly not a dense fog beast. This layer of fog had a strange power. It seemed to be able to seduce one's mind, and at the same time, it could also silently corrode one's life force. It was the smell of death. It was no wonder that those who entered this place would die here. The mist was a little strange, as if there was a powerful creature controlling it. However, Yang Hongwu did not know whether it was real or not. However, there was one thing that he was certain of, and that was that there was indeed a terrifying murderous intent within the fog. There must be a powerful creature in the mist. This powerful creature relied on the mist to devour the flesh, blood, vitality, and even soul power of the creatures in the canyon to recover or improve itself. Wasn't Blood Demon the same way? After his death, he set up a formation to devour the flesh and blood of others to recover his vitality. Then, he really came back from the dead and made a comeback. Would this canyon, or rather, the lifeless canyon, be the same? At this thought, Yang Hongwu's eyes shone with a terrifying light. Chapter 1693. I'm dead this time. The fog shrouded the lifeless canyon. Death is inevitable. Zhang Liqiang was filled with despair. It doesn't matter if I die, but I won't be able to deliver the Dark Ice Martin's inner core to Her Highness. Don't be so pessimistic. Yang Hongwu frowned. This guy is so pessimistic. Shut up. You're crying. Yeah. You're a grown man, but you're still crying. Shame on you. Pang Liren said with disdain. Zhang Liqiang was embarrassed. However, he said, Young master, I'm telling the truth. If you don't believe me, you can try and see if you can find the way back. Brother Yang is so powerful. It won't be a problem for him to find the way back. At this moment, Pang Liren spoke before Yang Hongwu could say anything. Her admiration for Yang Hongwu was apparent at a glance. From this, it could be seen that Pang Liren and Pang Lijuan were both women. Pang Liren and Pang Liren had great trust in Yang Hongwu. In their eyes, there was nothing that Yang Hongwu couldn't do. Brother Yang, am I right? Pang Liren looked at Yang Hongwu and said. Yang Hongwu smiled bitterly in his heart and shook his head. It's not that simple. The mist is not as simple as that. In fact, since we entered the canyon, we have entered another space. It can be said that this is not the divine realm of black ice, but another space in the divine realm of black ice. What we saw just now is just the surface. If we want to leave here, we have to find the owner of this space. Otherwise, it's too difficult to leave this space unless we have absolute strength to break this space open. Otherwise, we'll be trapped here for the rest of our lives. Brother Yang, you're not joking, right? Hearing Yang Hongwu's words, Pang Liren couldn't stay calm. She looked at Yang Hongwu and said, You must have a way to leave this place, right? Don't worry, Sister Liren. I naturally have a way to leave here. You have to believe me. At that time, you didn't think that you could leave Shepherding Town, right? Isn't that right? Yang Hongwu smiled faintly, full of confidence. Although this place was strange, it was not impossible to leave here. Of course, the owner of this lifeless canyon was probably not weak. However, if he wanted to leave here, he could still do it. If it was someone else, there was only one way to leave this place, and that was to defeat or kill the owner of this world. However, Yi Shiwen was different. Although he had not reached the Divine Emperor realm, he had a trump card that no one else had. That was the Dharma Eye of Annihilation, which was his biggest trump card. In this space, or rather, in this world, his Dharma Eye of Annihilation was the most powerful thing. If he didn't leave, He could use his Dharma Eye of Annihilation to destroy everything. If he used this lifeless canyon to destroy this world, he could destroy this space. Seeing Yang Hongwu so confident, Zhang Liqiang was also relieved. Although he had never heard of anyone leaving this lifeless canyon, seeing Yang Hongwu's confident eyes gave him a sense of trust and a silent comfort. Young master, don't be careless. Although I have never entered the lifeless canyon, I have heard that no one who entered the lifeless canyon left alive. There was only one person who had just walked out of the lifeless canyon and died. Even his soul had disappeared. Zhang Liqiang said, "You don't believe Brother Yang? Damn it, Brother Yang. Why don't we just leave him alone and let him fend for himself here?" When Pang Liren heard Zhang Liqiang's words, she thought to herself, "This damned guy, how dare he say such things at this time?" He only knew how to boost the morale of others and diminish his own prestige. If it weren't for Yang Hongwu stopping her, Pang Liren really wanted to kill this guy. "Yes, you are not a good person at all. I think you deliberately brought us to this damned place, right?" Pang Lijuan was also dissatisfied and said. Speaking of this, the two women looked at Zhang Jianqiang. The possibility of this was really high. Wasn't the reason why they came here was because he was leading the way? Zhang Liqiang was a little confused when he heard this. Yes, this road was pointed out by him. If he didn't lead the way, how could they come to this place? "Young master, you have to believe me. I really didn't bring you here on purpose," Zhang Liqiang said. "Forget it, I believe you." Yang Hongwu shook his head and said, "But you don't have to say those discouraging words at this time. Although the space in this lifeless canyon is strange, it is not impossible. In fact, there are 3 ways to leave this place. The first way is to defeat this person, the owner of the spatial world in the lifeless canyon, or kill him. As long as you can do this, it won't be difficult to leave this place. However, in order to do this, you must first find the location of the owner of the spatial world. If you can't find the owner of the spatial world, everything will be in vain." "What's the second way?" Pang Liren asked. "The second method is to use supreme strength to tear open a spatial crack and open a passage. Naturally, you can also leave this place. The second method is easier than the first method." Yang Hongwu paused. "However, it's not that easy. It also needs to be powerful. You have to be strong enough to do it. As for the third way, it is the most difficult. That is, you have to use supreme strength to destroy this side of the world completely. If this side of the world is destroyed, it will naturally not be able to trap us." Hearing this, Zhang Liqiang knew that each of the 3 ways was very difficult. At least, it was far from what he could do. He suspected that even the Palace Lord of the Black Ice Divine Palace might not be able to do it with his supreme cultivation. "All right," Yang Hongwu said, "now let's first look around and see if we can find the hiding place of the other party. Or let's take a look at the so-called space world of the lifeless canyon and see what it is like. Why is it so dangerous?" "Yes." Pang Liren nodded. Chapter 1694. Let's go. Since that guy wants to play, let's see who is in the lifeless canyon, Yang Hongwu said with a chuckle, as if he didn't care about the crisis in front of him. Yang Hongwu walked in front, scanning the surroundings with his divine sense. However, this space was indeed a bit special. The range of his divine sense was only a few feet. Under normal circumstances, his divine sense should be able to cover tens of thousands of feet in the divine realm. However, in this place, his divine sense could only cover tens of feet. This gap was not small. "Here, vision is blurred, and there is no way for my divine sense to explore the surroundings," Pang Li said. "Brother Yang, how far can your divine sense explore?" "Tens of feet." Yang Hongwu said, "This is normal. This fog can block our divine sense. If you weren't wearing the talismans I gave you, this fog would be constantly devouring and absorbing your vitality invisibly. If one didn't check carefully, one wouldn't be able to sense it. In the beginning, it devoured very little vitality. However, if one knew the method of boiling a frog in warm water, one would know that in fact, this fog was constantly devouring the vitality of the cultivators. It was also using the same method to prevent others from sensing it. If it devoured the vitality of the living beings who entered this place crazily at the beginning, then the other party would definitely be able to sense it. However, if it only devoured a little bit at the beginning, then it would be very difficult to sense it bit by bit. In the end, it would be very difficult to sense it. By the time one realized it, it was already out of control. This was what surprised Yang Hongwu. Brother Yang, we can't see too far with our naked eyes, and our divine sense is also limited. In this way, we can't see what's going on in front of us. Isn't it too risky to move forward rashly? Pang Lijuan looked at Yang Hongwu and said, "Don't worry. Although there is no way for my divine sense and naked eyes to see too far, this is not a problem for me." Yang Hongwu smiled slightly, his tone full of confidence. His divine sense and naked eyes were limited, but his eye technique was unaffected. That was the Dharma eye of annihilation. If it was an ordinary eye technique, perhaps it would be slightly better, but the Dharma eye of annihilation was different. The reason why the Dharma eye of annihilation was so powerful was that once it appeared, it could easily scan the entire space world. This was the real strength of the Dharma eye of annihilation. It should be noted that in order to destroy a world, one must first understand the specific situation of that world. If that world was strong enough to withstand or even destroy the Dharma eye of annihilation, then wouldn't it be foolish to use the Dharma eye of annihilation to destroy that world? Dream? Therefore, the Dharma eye of annihilation had two main functions. The first function was to scan the space, and the other function was to destroy the space, and the other function was to destroy the space. The Dharma eye of annihilation was much more powerful than Mao Er's delusion breaker eye. Under the Dharma eye of annihilation, no disguise could escape, unless it was a world lord who was much more powerful than Yang Hongwu. Sure enough, after Yang Hongwu opened his Dharma eye of annihilation, the fog in front of him dissipated. When Zhang Liqiang saw this scene, his eyes widened. Inconceivable, this was too inconceivable. Brother Yang, you're really amazing. Everyone only saw a ray of light emerging from Yang Hongwu's eyes. Wherever this ray of light went, all the fog was dispelled. The power of the Dharma eye of annihilation surprised Yang Hongwu. Originally, Yang Hongwu thought that the Dharma eye of annihilation could only see through the fog in front of him, but he didn't expect that the fog in front of him would be dispelled as soon as the divine light of annihilation appeared. This was something that Yang Hongwu never expected. It was so unexpected. However, the source of this fog made Yang Hongwu very curious. In the entire lifeless canyon, there was not a fog everywhere. This special and strange fog should be controlled by someone, and the person who controlled this fog was probably the master of this world. Young master. Zhang Liqiang looked at Yang Hongwu's eyes just now and was about to say something, but after hesitating for a moment, he finally didn't say anything. Yang Hongwu looked at him thoughtfully. Does this guy know about your Dharma eye of annihilation? If so, this guy can't be kept alive. The Dharma eye of annihilation was one of his biggest trump cards, and it must not be exposed. If people knew that he had the Dharma eye of annihilation, he would probably become the enemy of the whole world. Yang Hongwu didn't want to become the target of everyone's hatred. Although he was not afraid, after all, no one wanted to be the target of that. The kind of person that everyone wanted to beat up. The Dharma eye of annihilation was a taboo existence. Once it appeared, it meant that that side of the world would be destroyed. Therefore, no one could let the Dharma eye of annihilation grow. Of course, before going to Black Ice Palace, Yang Hongwu would not do anything to this guy. If he went to Black Ice City by himself, it would take a long time to find the way. If someone led the way, it would be much faster, but if he didn't know what was good for him, then he would not mind killing him directly. Anyway, for Yang Hongwu, Zhang Liqiang was just a dispensable person. In a divine palace in the lifeless canyon space world, a man was sitting on a high throne. Feeling that his lifeless fog had been dispelled, he was extremely angry. Damn guy, he can actually dispel my lifeless fog. This man had a cold face, and the blood knife mark between his eyebrows was particularly conspicuous. Master, let me kill him. Under the throne, there were more than a dozen people, each of whom was very powerful, kneeling down. The strength of all the people in the divine palace wasn't any weaker than any of the divine palaces in the divine domain. They were even stronger than the divine palaces. The cold-faced man on the throne was terrifyingly strong. He was at the peak of the divine emperor realm, a half-step imperial emperor. He could be an expert at the level of an emperor. His aura was far more terrifying than that of an ordinary half-step emperor. Chapter 1695. What I want is his living body. He must be captured alive. There cannot be any mistakes. If anyone dares to ruin my plans, I will make sure that they die without a burial ground. The grim man on the divine throne coldly swept his gaze over the crowd and said, "Yes, master." The crowd was terrified and did not dare to say a word. "Zhumo, go and capture that brat. Remember, that brat can't be harmed. As for the others, I don't care. You can eat them or kill them, but that brat can't have any accident. Not even a single strand of his hair can be harmed. Do you understand?" "Master, don't worry. I will do it," Candle Demon said respectfully as he knelt on the ground. Candle Demon was a candle. It was not an ordinary candle. The candle flame of Candle Demon could burn everything. Even a warrior at the peak of the God-Emperor realm would be seriously injured if he was not careful enough to be burned by the candle flame. Candle Demon's strength was unimaginable. Candle Demon was one of the 10 great generals of the Lifeless Emperor. The Lifeless Emperor was the cold man on the throne in the Divine Palace. In fact, he was not the real Lifeless Emperor. He was just an incarnation of the Lifeless Emperor. The real Lifeless Emperor was nowhere to be found. Even his incarnation did not know where the real Lifeless Emperor was. His incarnation's strength was not even 1,000th of the real Lifeless Emperor's strength. Therefore, his strength had not reached the level of an emperor. There were only 2 of the 10 great generals of the Lifeless Emperor here. One of them was Candle Demon and the other was King Corpse Demon. King Corpse Demon was an ancient corpse king. He was more powerful than Candle Demon. He was immortal and could control countless corpses. As long as they were dead, he could control them. Especially in a large-scale battlefield, the more people who died, the more powerful he became. However, Candle Demon and King Corpse Demon were not as powerful as they were at their peak. In their peak, Candle Demon and King Corpse Demon were at the level of half-step emperor. Now they were only at the middle divine emperor realm. But even if he was only a mid-godly emperor, it was still terrifying. "Alright, you can go now. You can choose anyone you want, but remember, don't make any mistakes. Otherwise, even if you are my most trusted subordinate, I won't let you go," the Lifeless Emperor said. "Don't worry, Master. I'll go and capture him now." With that, the Candle Demon left. "You guys can leave as well. King Corpse, stay behind." The Lifeless Emperor waved his hand. "Yes, Master." After everyone left, the Lifeless Emperor looked at King Corpse Demon and said, "Do you know why I asked you to stay?" Replying to Master, this subordinate is slow-witted. "Does Master have any instructions?" the King Corpse Devil said in a muffled voice. Although the King Corpse Devil was a king corpse, his body was no different from a human's. In fact, his vitality was stronger than any other cultivator. "You and the Candle Demon are the people I trust the most. You've fought alongside me for countless years. You're the people I trust the most. Therefore, if there's anything important, I'll let you and the Candle Demon do it. You've never disappointed me." The Lifeless Emperor sighed. "I'm here. Although the Lifeless Shrine seems to be strong, I know that some people have already started to rebel. Master, who is it? I'll go and kill him. King Corpse Demon shouted furiously. Don't be angry. The lifeless emperor shook his head and said, I don't know who exactly it is, but that person dared to betray me. The person he's relying on is extremely strong, not weaker than me. Master, you're so strong, but the person behind you isn't weaker than you? Could it be one of those people? King Corpse Demon frowned and said. King Corpse Demon was astonished. The lifeless emperor was extremely strong. Although he wasn't as strong as he was at his peak, his strength was still terrifying. In the divine domain, there were very few people who could fight against the lifeless emperor. Of course, the lifeless emperor didn't leave the lifeless valley because he hadn't recovered his strength yet. And in this lifeless canyon, he could continuously extract lifeless life and death chi to restore and improve his cultivation. The lifeless emperor also had enemies. His enemies were equally strong. If he left the lifeless valley, he would be sensed by his enemies. Before he recovered, the lifeless emperor didn't dare to expose himself. As one of the 10 generals of the lifeless emperor, King Corpse Demon was very clear about this. No, that's not it. The lifeless emperor shook his head and said, that person might be a demon. Demon? King Corpse Demon's eyes widened. He knew what a demon was. The demon that the lifeless emperor spoke of was naturally not a simple demon. At the level of the lifeless emperor, there was only one person who could be called a demon. His strength was truly terrifying. That was the ruler of the Eternal Demon Lands. What sort of place was the Eternal Demon Lands? It was one of the true great worlds. As the ruler of a great world, one could imagine how powerful they were. In the past, the lifeless emperor was also the ruler of a great world. However, the lifeless emperor was betrayed and the lifeless valley was destroyed. The lifeless emperor's true body also disappeared, leaving behind only the incarnation of the lifeless emperor and the remnants of the lifeless valley. In the divine domain, he was struggling at death's door. Of course, these were only King Corpse Demon's thoughts. He didn't dare to say them out loud. If he did, the lifeless emperor would tear him apart. Yes, that's a demon. The lifeless emperor said, that's why I didn't expose them. I haven't recovered my strength yet. As for that demon, I don't know what level of strength he has reached. Otherwise, I would have already killed them. Emperor, why don't you let me test him? King Corpse Demon asked. No, there's no need. The lifeless emperor's lips curved up in a sneer. Do you think my words were so simple? I've already calculated it. That young man can disperse my lifeless chi. How could he be so simple? He has a formidable strength within him. Chapter 1696. Lifeless Monarch couldn't help but smile faintly when he heard that. What do you know? That kid's cultivation might be weak, but his battle prowess is very strong. You might be strong, but if you go up against that kid, who knows who will die? King Corpse Demon said, Master, I don't agree with what you said. Even if that brat is the trump card left behind by that peerless expert, he hasn't grown up yet. He's just a divine monarch. I'm a divine emperor. Can't I kill a divine monarch? A cultivator from the upper realm? If the trump card left behind by the Almighty can be killed so easily, then he wouldn't have been left behind by the Almighty. The lifeless emperor shook his head. All right, you don't have to argue. You'll know how terrifying that kid is in a while. Now, what you need to do is to follow that kid secretly. Remember, do not expose yourself. If that kid is in danger, you need to help him. When the Corpse King Demon heard this, he was somewhat puzzled and said, Master, didn't you ask the Candle Demon to capture him? Why do you want me to protect him secretly? Even if he's in danger, I need to help him? Master, don't you want to capture him and devour his energy to recover your cultivation? You're usually quite smart. Why are you asking such a stupid question now? The lifeless emperor looked at King Corpse. This kid is the trump card left behind by the Almighty to deal with the demons. Even if I'm at my peak, I'm still not as strong as the Almighty. Plus, I've lost a lot of my strength. How can I devour the energy left behind by the Almighty if I'm not even at my peak? If I try to take it by force, I'll only incur the Almighty's wrath. At that time, the lifeless emperor stopped and continued, all in all, you just need to protect him secretly. If I'm not wrong, those traitors have already sent out a message. Soon, the demons will be here. After saying that, the lifeless monarch's eyes shone with a terrifying cold light and killing intent. I'm afraid we've been targeted, Yang Hongwu said. Targeted? Pang Lijuan asked. Big Brother Yang, are you talking about the owner of this lifeless canyon? Not bad, Yang Hongwu said. He's also the master of the lifeless fog. I've dispelled the fog, so as the master of the fog, he can naturally sense it. Then shouldn't we prepare for battle? Pang Li asked. Haha, not bad. Yang Hongwu smiled. And if I'm not wrong, the other party should be here soon. Not long after Yang Hongwu's voice fell, he heard a few figures in the distance. These figures' auras were very powerful. Mid-divine emperors, the others were all mid-divine monarchs. This group of people came in a menacing manner. The leader of the group was a middle divine emperor. He was none other than Zhuimo. What a powerful flame energy. Yang Hongwu squinted his eyes. The other party possessed a powerful flame energy. His strength was not ordinary. However, the flame energy was nothing to Yang Hongwu. If it was any other kind of energy, Yang Hongwu would be worried. However, it was just the flame energy. Yang Hongwu could easily deal with him. He did not even need to set up a formation. These people are filled with an evil aura and demonic aura. They are definitely not good people. I'm afraid that the number of people who have died in their hands is uncountable. These people are most likely related to the dark region. Zhang Liqiang's expression was solemn as he spoke. Demon region? Yang Hongwu shook his head and said, these people should not be related to the demon region. Why do you say that? Zhang Liqiang was stunned. Intuition, Yang Hongwu said. Zhang Liqiang was speechless. What kind of bullshit intuition was that? There was no real evidence. Intuition could not be taken seriously. None of the people from the demon region were good people. When the people from the demon region invaded the divine realm, countless people died tragically. Countless creatures were exterminated. Countless families and sects were annihilated. You're thinking too much. This lifeless canyon is a spatial world. Moreover, it contains a very powerful origin energy. Yang Hongwu said, the origin energy of this world isn't any weaker than the realm of the gods. However, this should only be an incomplete world. Yang Hongwu had the Dharma Eye of Annihilation. When the divine light of annihilation swept across the entire spatial world of the lifeless canyon, he naturally discovered it. Yang Hongwu's Dharma Eye of Annihilation could not scan the entire divine realm. However, he could still discover the lifeless canyon. However, Yang Hongwu was certain that this lifeless canyon and the divine realm's origin energy did not originate from the same source. Therefore, this spatial world should be independent of the divine realm. And the divine realm and demon region originated from the same source. Later, they were separated by a powerful force. Therefore, this lifeless canyon should not be in the divine realm. Looking at it this way, the owner of the lifeless canyon should not be from the demon region. Of course, all of this was merely Yang Hongwu's guess. Whether it was true or not, Yang Hongwu was not too clear. After all, this was only his guess. Whether it's true or not, we'll know after capturing them and interrogating them. However, I believe that what Big Brother Yang said is true. They should not be people from the demon region. Pang Li said. At this time, the candle demon had already arrived in front of Yang Hongwu and the other three. Do you know where this is? You actually barged in without permission? How dare you? The candle demon's tone was arrogant as he looked at Yang Hongwu and the other four. Who are you? Yang Hongwu said, As for barging in without permission, these words are a little too much. We're merely passing by. But you guys are actually audacious and presumptuous, trapping us in this spatial world. If you know what's good for you, open the way and let us leave. Otherwise, it'll be your death. Ha ha! When the candle demon heard, he could not help laughing loudly. What a big tone! A divine lord realm puny thing actually has such a big tone, uttering such wild ravings, wanting to kill me, the candle demon? You really don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Ha ha! Boss, why don't you let me capture him and deal with him properly? One of the candle demon's underlings said. Boss, those two women seem to look pretty good. Can you let me enjoy them for a while? Another skinny man with a very wretched appearance stared at Pang Li and the other two women, his saliva almost flowing out. Chapter 1697. The candle demon said, Boy, did you hear me clearly? If you allow yourself to be captured, I may consider not letting you suffer any physical pain. However, if you dare to resist, the consequences will be. The candle demon's threat was self-evident. Are you threatening me? Yang Hongwu snorted. Today, all of you will die. No one can threaten me, including you. You're just a middle divine emperor. Do you think you're invincible? Wow, boy, you've infuriated me. If it wasn't for my master's order to capture you alive, I would have killed you myself. The candle demon roared. However, you may not die, but the others will not have a good ending. Guys, attack. Following the candle demon's order, his men rushed forward like wolves and tigers, as if they were evil spirits. Yang Hongwu was furious. These bastards dared to attack him. If he did not kill them, he would not be able to appease the people. Yang Hongwu looked at the people who rushed forward and waved his hand, instantly setting up a formation. Although this formation could not deal with the candle demon, it was easy to deal with those warriors who had not reached the divine emperor realm. As soon as the formation appeared, those people began to kill each other. The candle demon opened his eyes wide at the sight. Illusory formation. Good boy, you know how to use an illusory formation. Candle demon's mental strength was strong. After all, he was a warrior of the intermediate divine emperor realm. Moreover, he had the supreme power of fire. The formation could not affect him. However, his subordinates were not so lucky. They started killing each other crazily. Only a few seconds had passed. Just by sucking, many people had already died. Damn it! These be asterisk stars. Every single one of them is useless. The candle demon snapped back to his senses and burst out with a ball of flames, breaking apart the formation. However, it was too late. His subordinates were either dead or injured. They no longer had any fighting power. As for the man who had threatened to kill Pang Liren and Pang Lijuan, he was already in Yang Hongwu's hands and his cultivation had been destroyed. He was like a dead dog, extremely miserable. Yang Hongwu threw him in front of Pang Liren and said, Liren, I'll leave this guy to you. Many thanks, big brother Yang. Pang Liren nodded, and together with Pang Lijuan, the two women began to deal with this guy. At this time, King Corpse Devil appeared in the dark. Seeing this scene, he was extremely shocked. Yang Hongwu's strength was beyond his expectations. He had actually crippled all the subordinates of the candle demon. Although the strength of these people wasn't that great, they were still able to defeat all of them in such a short period of time. This kind of strength was enough to make the candle demon lose his life. It was a little too powerful. He wasn't weak at all. No wonder Master had such a high opinion of him. However, even so, it was still far from enough. His strength was not enough. The strongest person he had just dealt with was merely a ninth-layer divine monarch, not even a half-step divine emperor. If it was him, he could also deal with it, but it would take some time. For a divine emperor expert, if one's cultivation was not at the divine emperor realm, it was simply not enough. Once they started fighting, they were not on the same level at all. It could be said that a divine emperor expert could easily deal with 10 or even hundreds of peak divine monarchs in a short period of time. This was the gap between the realms. Of course, some peerless geniuses could surpass their realms and resist for a while, but only for a while. Even if this young man in front of him was a peerless genius, it was absolutely impossible for him to fight against a middle divine emperor expert with the cultivation of 8th-layer divine monarch. It was impossible, at least, that was what he thought. After all, he had never seen anyone who could fight against a middle divine emperor expert with the cultivation of 8th-layer divine monarch. Even his master, the lifeless emperor, could only fight against an early divine emperor expert when he was at the divine monarch realm. He had lived for so many years and had seen so many geniuses, it was not an exaggeration to say that they were as vast as smoke. Only a few of these geniuses could fight against someone who was several realms higher than them. However, those who were 1 or 2 realms higher than them were too few. There was only one person who could fight against a divine emperor at the divine monarch realm, that was his master, the lifeless emperor. Therefore, in his opinion, only those who were at the same level as the lifeless emperor could fight against a divine emperor at the divine monarch realm. Trash, useless. I have raised you for nothing. The candle demon harumphed coldly. Brat, if you have any other tricks, show me. Let me see why Master values you so much. If you don't show me what you've got, I'll kill you even if Master punishes me. How arrogant, Yang Hongwu said. You're just a candle demon. How dare you be so presumptuous in front of me? Who gave you the guts to do that? You little bastard, I will kill you today. The candle demon was infuriated when he heard that. How dare he say that he was just a candle demon? He hated Candle Demon the most. The furious Candle Demon burst into flames and rushed towards Yang Hongwu. Wherever the flames touched, everything was burned and turned into crystal soil. One could see how terrifying the temperature of the flames was. Even Pang Liren and the other girl were worried and stopped what they were doing. Brother Yang, be careful. It's okay. I am an ancestor when it comes to playing with fire. Yang Hongwu smiled and said, You're just a candle demon, how dare you be so presumptuous and arrogant? Yang Hongwu waved his hand and a ball of flames condensed in his hand. The flame flickered and flickered, as if it were a spirit. The appearance of this ball of flames made the candle demon wary. Terrifying, too terrifying. What kind of flame is this? However, at the same time, the candle demon was scared, but at the same time, he was also greedy. If he could absorb that ball of flames, it would bring him incredible benefit. The supreme benefits would allow his cultivation to rise to the next level. After his cultivation level had dropped, he hadn't been able to break through for a very long time. He had been stuck at the 5th godly emperor layer for a very, very long time. Breaking through to the next level, even if it was a small one, was something he had always dreamed of. He had never had the opportunity to do so. Chapter 1698. Lad, this flame is mine. The candle demon's eyes were filled with greed as he looked at Yang Hongwu and shouted, You want my divine flame? Yang Hongwu smiled and said, That will depend on whether you have the ability to do so. However, I think that you are not qualified. Lad, you are just an 8th-level divine lord and you dare to be arrogant. I will beat you to death. The candle demon was infuriated. This brat was just an 8th-layer divine monarch, how dare he ridicule him? He was an intermediate divine emperor. After saying that, the candle demon rushed towards Yang Hongwu. His body was covered in flames and the flames condensed into a big hand. He grabbed the ball of flame in Yang Hongwu's hand. Yang Hongwu laughed and said, You want the flame? Here you go. After saying that, Yang Hongwu threw the red lotus karmic fire in his hand towards the candle demon. The candle demon was overjoyed when he saw Yang Hongwu's action. He actually dared to throw the flame towards him. Wasn't he giving it to him? Originally, he was still hesitating on how to obtain this flame. Now, it was great that he had delivered himself to his doorstep. Seeing the ball of flame coming towards him, the candle demon stretched out his hand and grabbed it without hesitation. However, what he did not expect was that the moment he clenched his fist, the flames began to burn on his body. This ball of flame was completely different from his candle flame. This flame was actually able to burn his soul. Karmic fire, this is the Red Lotus karmic fire. The candle demon screamed as his soul was burned and the karmic fire in his body was ignited. At this moment, he realized that he had been tricked. This flame was actually disguised by the Red Lotus karmic fire. If it was an ordinary flame, he would not be afraid even if it was the legendary divine flame. However, this flame was different. This was the Red Lotus karmic fire. The most terrifying thing about the Red Lotus karmic fire was that it could ignite the karmic fire in a cultivator's body. What was karma? This karma was created when a cultivator committed the sin of killing. This karma was entangled in the cultivator's soul. The only way to cleanse the karma was to be burned by the Red Lotus karmic fire and to use the merit of the Great Path. How could Great Tao merit be so easily obtained? Moreover, ordinary merit couldn't be considered as Great Tao merit. The candle demon was a devil, a general under the lifeless emperor. Although he didn't come from the demon region, countless people had died in his hand. How much karma did he have? Originally, with his cultivation, it would not be easy for the karmic fire of the Red Lotus to burn him. If he did not want to, he could use his candle flame to build a defense to keep the karmic fire of the Red Lotus out. However, he was courting death by drawing the karmic fire of the Red Lotus into his body. As a result, the karmic fire of the Red Lotus ignited in his body. Furthermore, the karmic fire burned at a terrifying speed. His soul was set ablaze. Help! Help! At this moment, the candle demon was in so much pain that he could only shout and beg for mercy. By the side, the king corpse demon who was hiding in the dark was also stunned. He didn't expect this young man to be so terrifying. No wonder his master valued him so much, using flames to burn the candle demon until he begged for mercy. What kind of flame was this? How powerful was it? He took a deep breath. The king corpse demon knew that he had to go out at this moment. If he didn't, the candle demon would be burned alive. Just as the king corpse demon was about to go out and stop Yang Hongwu, more than 10 powerful auras appeared. Yang Hongwu also frowned. As for the candle demon, Yang Hongwu didn't bother about him. Candle demon, you're really embarrassing. You can't even deal with an 8th level divine lord. It's really embarrassing. The leader clapped his hands and smiled at the candle demon. The candle demon looked at the person who came and was furious. When had he been ridiculed and humiliated like this before? But the current him couldn't refute at all. He was already an arrow at the end of its flight. That Red Lotus hellfire almost burned more than half of his soul. The current him was just hanging on bitterly. The hellfire in his body was being burned, and it was quite terrifying. That kind of pain wasn't something that an ordinary person could endure. The person who came was the candle demon's enemy, Shui Longxing. His original body was a huge anaconda. His strength was much weaker than the candle demon. In fact, he wasn't even an early-stage divine emperor. He had just stepped into the divine emperor realm, and it wasn't even stable. Moreover, the reason why he broke through to the divine emperor realm was because he used the assistance of medicine to forcefully break through. The elixir that he swallowed was extremely evil. It was refined using the blood essence of dozens of water attribute spiritual bodies. From afar, Yang Hongwu could feel the hellfire on him. Compared to the candle demon, he was more despicable and deserved to die. Although the candle demon wasn't a good thing, he wasn't as cruel as Shui Longxing. Brat, just give up and let us capture you. Shui Longxing ignored the candle demon. To him, the candle demon was already half dead, and there was no point in arguing with him. He was only concerned about Yang Hongwu. This young man was highly valued by the lifeless emperor, and he wanted to devour his strength to increase his cultivation. Therefore, Shui Longxing's objective was to capture this young man and find out what kind of secret this young man had that the lifeless emperor valued him so much. If he could increase his cultivation to the same level as the lifeless emperor, it would be a good thing for him to enjoy it. Of course, if he didn't reach that level, or if he couldn't use it, then he would hand him over to the demon lord. Shui Longxing had betrayed the lifeless emperor long ago. He had never exposed himself. This time, he didn't hesitate to expose himself for the sake of this young man. The lifeless emperor was extremely powerful. If he wasn't confident, he wouldn't have dared to betray him. However, the demon lord behind him was extremely powerful. Although the lifeless emperor was powerful, he might not be a match for the demon lord. Shui Longxing was a man of great ambition. The lifeless emperor was cowering in this place, which made Shui Longxing despise him. However, the demon lord was different. The demon lord had vast ambitions. This was also an excuse for Shui Longxing to betray the lifeless emperor. In fact, the reason why he was able to break through was because of the demon lord's help. If the demon lord didn't give him the elixir formula, he didn't know when he would be able to break through. Yang Hongwu looked at Shui Longxing and narrowed his eyes. It seems like you and he were originally on the same side. However, you didn't get along well. Who is the person behind you? Chapter 1699. Looks like you want me to take action. Shui Longxing snorted and waved his hand. A dozen of his men rushed forward. You're courting death. Yang Hongwu did not care when he saw these people rushing towards him. A few talismans appeared in his hand and he crushed them, turning them into a sword array. Dense sword qi instantly enveloped the dozen people. These people were dumbfounded when they saw this. In an instant, they took out their weapons to defend against the overbearing sword qi. However, there was too much sword qi. The sword qi contained within these talismans was extremely overbearing and terrifying. It seemed like they could not defend against this sword qi. It contained a special energy. This special energy was the creation qi. Although it was only a trace, it was because of this trace of creation qi that the power of these talismans became even more terrifying. If it was just an ordinary talisman, they would still be able to defend against it. However, the talisman that contained the creation qi was extremely powerful. Damn it! Shui Longxing was terrified when he saw that his men were either dead or injured in just a few breaths. They no longer had the strength to fight. Only now did he realize why Zhu Mo, a middle-stage divine emperor, was in such a sorry state. He also understood why the lifeless emperor placed such importance on this young man. It seemed like there was a huge secret hidden within this young man's body. This secret might even be able to topple the entire deity domain. This was the reason why the lifeless emperor placed such importance on this young man. Shui Longxing's expression changed when he thought of this. Since this young man had such a shocking secret, why would the lifeless emperor only send the candle demon here? The lifeless emperor definitely had a backup plan. Or rather, the lifeless emperor had already guessed that the candle demon was not a match for this young man. The lifeless monarch lord was an unparalleled elite. How could his scheme be so simple? Or perhaps, the lifeless emperor had already appeared and was nearby. If that was the case, then they were in big trouble. Shui Longxing's face turned pale. His betrayal had already been exposed. Damn it! Shui Longxing was no fool. If he still didn't know that he had been tricked, then he would be a fool. Shui Longxing cried bitterly in his heart. He had been smart all his life, but now he was stupid. If he had known earlier, he wouldn't have jumped out so early. However, since things had come to this point, he no longer had a choice. If that's the case, I might as well go all the way and capture this brat first. I have to be quick. If the lifeless emperor really comes, I won't be able to do anything. Even escaping would be a problem. I don't want to die yet. Brat, you forced me to do this. Shui Longxing stared at Yang Hongwu with a ferocious glint in his eyes. His body began to transform, and his face became ferocious. His entire body exuded a terrifying demonic aura. Sensing this demonic qi, Yang Hongwu's eyes shot out a cold light. Not only Yang Hongwu, but Zhang Liqiang, who was beside Yang Hongwu, also cried out, "Young master, this is the demonic qi of the demonic domain." Demonic domain? That's right, young master. This is the power of the Lord of the demonic domain. He has become the servant of the Lord of the demonic domain. Only the servant of the Lord of the demonic domain has such demonic qi. His strength will be greatly enhanced. Young master, be careful. Zhang Liqiang shouted. The Lord of the demonic domain. Looks like it's him. I didn't expect it to be him. Yang Hongwu narrowed his eyes. His guess was right. The Lord of the demonic domain was Zetian. At this moment, after confirming that the Lord of the demonic domain was his nemesis, Zetian, Yang Hongwu was very depressed. The Lord of the demonic domain, or Lord of the demonic domain, Zetian, was very powerful and terrifying. He was probably at the level of an emperor. He was at the level of an emperor. He was not even a divine emperor. How could he be a match for Zetian? Yang Hongwu guessed that there should be one of his women in the Ice City. Or, the Ice Goddess might be one of his women. If not, there must be something in the Ice City that attracted Zetian. Otherwise, Zetian would not have attacked him with such great fanfare. The Ice City. Yang Hongwu even had a premonition that Zetian's great fanfare was to attract him. With Zetian's arrogance, he probably did not put the entire demonic domain in his eyes. His ultimate goal was to defeat him, the person who had defeated him time and time again. Of course, this was just a guess. However, Yang Hongwu hoped that this guess was not true. Otherwise, he would be in trouble. Other than him, all of you will have to die. Shui Longxing's strength had increased tremendously. At this moment, Shui Longxing was a powerful demon. Wherever his demonic qi went, everything would be corroded. Even the plants would wither and die instantly. This showed how ferocious and terrifying the demonic qi was. At this moment, the King Corpse demon who was hiding in the dark was shocked. Master had guessed right. Someone had betrayed him. It was Shui Longxing. He had always trusted Shui Longxing because he was the one who had recommended Shui Longxing to the Wuxing Emperor. Now that Shui Longxing had betrayed him, he was ashamed. Initially, he wanted to take a look. However, he could not bear it anymore. Moreover, Shui Longxing's strength had increased tremendously. Yang Hongwu might not be a match for him. Moreover, the Candle Demon was in a state worse than death. If this continued, the Candle Demon would really be finished. Therefore, no matter if it was to deal with Shui Longxing or to save the Candle Demon, he had to show himself. Shui Longxing, you've disappointed me. The King Corpse demon appeared. He was extremely domineering. With his strong physical body, he sent Shui Longxing flying with a single punch. However, what surprised the King Corpse demon was that even though Shui Longxing was sent flying, he was not injured at all. On the other hand, the King Corpse demon was corroded by the demonic qi. There were burn marks on his arms. The King Corpse demon was terrified. King Corpse demon, you've appeared. Looking at the King Corpse demon, Shui Longxing was terrified. He was not afraid of the King Corpse demon. It was because he did not care about the King Corpse demon in his current state. The King Corpse demon was no match for him. The one he was afraid of was the Wuxing Emperor. Chapter 1700. Shui Longxing, how dare you betray Master? Do you know the consequences of betraying Master? King Corpse demon looked at Shui Longxing and said coldly. Although Shui Longxing was much stronger now, King Corpse demon was not afraid of him. King Corpse demon was not an expert in one-on-one battles. As a King Corpse, he could summon countless zombies. He could summon countless zombies to fight for him. Even though the zombies were not strong and were far from the divine emperor realm, they could not withstand the sheer number of zombies. Moreover, they could not feel pain and were not afraid of death. If there were countless zombies attacking him, not to mention one Shui Longxing, even 10 Shui Longxing, or even 100 Shui Longxing, would not be enough. As a result, even though the Corpse King Demon wasn't the strongest, he was the strongest subordinate of the lifeless monarch lord. The Corpse King Devil had contributed greatly to the lifeless monarch back then. Therefore, even though Shui Longxing had obtained the power of the Lord of the Demon Realm and his strength had increased tremendously, the King Corpse Demon was not afraid. King Corpse Demon, you're just an old corpse, how dare you be so arrogant? Shui Longxing looked at King Corpse Demon and said coldly. Although he was afraid of the lifeless emperor, he did not put King Corpse Demon in his eyes. King Corpse Demon was strong and his zombies were strong, but his demonic flame was not to be trifled with. When he obtained the power of the Demon Lord, his most powerful trump card was the demonic flame. The demonic flame was similar to the candle flame of the candle demon, it could burn everything. King Corpse Demon's zombies could be said to be immortal under normal attack. However, they could not withstand a single blow from the demonic flame. Therefore, Shui Longxing was not worried when facing King Corpse Demon. Of course, the demonic flame was not limitless. He was a water python, the demonic flame could not be integrated into his primordial spirit. After all, his physique was not compatible with the demonic flame. Therefore, he could only control the demonic flame for a short period of time. But even so, it was enough. However, he was not worried about King Corpse Demon or the Candle Demon. The person he was most afraid of was the lifeless emperor. He wondered if the lifeless monarch would show up this time. He wasn't confident that the Demon Lord would fight the lifeless emperor for him. After all, the lifeless emperor wasn't a weakling. This was what he was most worried about. However, there was no turning back now. Shui Longxing, you're just a waterworm. How dare you humiliate me like this? Do you know that you're courting death? When the Corpse King Devil heard this, he was furious. This damned Shui Longxing actually dared to humiliate him. All this time, Shui Longxing had been respectful to him. It could be said that Shui Longxing had always been him. However, he didn't expect that not only did he betray him, he even dared to be so impudent and humiliated him. How could the King Corpse Demon not be furious? The feeling of being betrayed was not a good feeling. Old corpse, you're a piece of trash. After so many years, you're still at this cultivation level. You haven't improved at all. Am I stronger than you now? Shui Longxing laughed. He didn't care about the fact that King Corpse Demon called him a worm, because he was going to kill King Corpse Demon. He didn't care about the humiliation of a dead person. Courting death. King Corpse Demon was furious. He waved his hand and 2 powerful corpses appeared. These 2 powerful corpses were refined by King Corpse Demon at a great cost. These 2 corpses were at the early Divine Emperor realm. They were incomparably strong and undying. Their battle prowess was comparable to a mid-Divine Emperor realm expert. Moreover, they were more durable than a mid-Divine Emperor realm expert. After all, a mid-Divine Emperor realm expert was a living person. If he was a living person, he would feel tired, he would feel pain, and he would die. But these corpses wouldn't feel any pain. Unless they were completely annihilated, they would continue to fight. They would continue to fight until their death chi was exhausted. Good. Shui Longxing snorted coldly. He didn't retreat. Instead, he went forward and fought against the 2 corpses. King Corpse Demon didn't expect that Shui Longxing could subdue the corpses. He was astonished. The weapon in his hand was actually able to emit black flames. When the flames came into contact with the corpse, they were able to damage it quite a bit. What kind of power is that? Flame, that's demon flame. King Corpse Demon's expression changed. He finally saw what kind of flame it was. Demon flame, Only the demon lord had it. Now, he was sure that Shui Longxing's backer was the one who made him betray him. It was none other than the powerful demon that his master had mentioned. Therefore, he waved his hand and summoned countless corpses. There were hundreds and thousands of corpses, and they gathered towards Shui Longxing. Although these corpses weren't as strong as the 2 corpses just now, there were so many of them that they could definitely delay Shui Longxing. After the zombies stalled Shui Longxing, the Corpse King Devil looked at Yang Hongwu and said, "Young master, I'll have to trouble you to spare the candle demon this time. I apologize on his behalf." King Corpse Demon spoke to Yang Hongwu in a very respectful tone. This surprised Yang Hongwu. This guy seemed to be in cahoots with the candle demon. They were probably the subordinates of the Lifeless Canyon's master. It was the same for Shui Longxing. However, Shui Longxing had betrayed them. He had sided with someone else. That person was Lin Feng's sworn enemy, Zetian. He was also the ruler of the demon region. Yang Hongwu said coldly, "You want me to let him go?" "That's right. I hope young master can spare him this time." "Impossible," Yang Hongwu said. "He spoke arrogant words and even wanted to kill me. If it were you, would you let him go? I don't have the habit of letting a tiger return to the mountain. Even if this guy isn't very strong, I won't leave any future troubles for myself." King Corpse Demon smiled bitterly and said, "Young master, what do you want in order for you to let him go?" King Corpse Demon was also very angry. This bastard, the Candle Demon, did not know the immensity of heaven and earth. However, the Candle Demon was after all a brother who had followed the lifeless emperor for countless years. King Corpse Demon couldn't bear to watch him die like this. Moreover, after so many years, he had been one of the lifeless generals. Out of the 10 brothers of the lifeless emperor, only he and the Candle Demon were left. If the Candle Demon died at this time, he would be the only one left. Thinking about it, he felt a sense of desolation. Chapter 1701. "Haha, are you threatening me?" Yang Hongwu laughed loudly when he heard that and said, "What I hate the most is other people threatening me. Your master's strength is formidable, I've also guessed it. But so what? Do you think I'll be afraid? Moreover, let me tell you, I have many enemies and they're all very powerful. Furthermore, all of them are extremely powerful. As for your master, one more person won't make a difference." When Corpse King Demon heard that, he was also somewhat furious. A mere 8th-level Divine Lord martial artist, even if you were an unparalleled powerhouse in your previous life, an existence comparable to my master, the current you is ultimately just an 8th-level Divine Lord. You haven't even reached the Divine Emperor realm, yet you dare to be so arrogant? Aren't you afraid of seeking your own death? Do you know who my master is? Moreover, you have to understand that you're in my master's inner world now. In here, my master's will is supreme, an invincible existence. Not to mention that you're merely an 8th-level Divine Lord now, even if your cultivation is restored to your previous life. Even if you recover the cultivation base of your previous life, you'll still have to bow your head in my master's inner world. You'll be suppressed. Do you understand? So what if I kill him? Yang Hongwu ignored him and snorted coldly. With a thought, he activated the devouring furnace. A huge furnace erupted with a terrifying devouring power. In an instant, the Candle Devil was devoured. The Candle Devil reverted back to its original form. Then, it was burned and dissipated, turning into pure flame. The energy was swallowed into Yang Hongwu's body. After devouring the Candle Demon, Yang Hongwu discovered that the Red Lotus Hellfire's strength increased. The Fire Lotus also became more powerful. However, the Red Lotus Hellfire, which was also the Fire Lotus, was still asleep and had not awakened. However, all this was not a problem. All in all, the Red Lotus Hellfire's strength increased. All along, it had been very difficult for the Red Lotus Hellfire's strength to increase. Therefore, the power of the Red Lotus Hellfire that Yang Hongwu unleashed was not considered too powerful. In terms of head-on, the power of the Red Lotus Hellfire against the enemy was not much. It turned out that Yang Hongwu could devour karma to increase the power of the Red Lotus Hellfire. However, he later realized that even if he burned countless karma, it was still a drop in the bucket to increase the power of the Red Lotus Hellfire. This time, Yang Hongwu discovered another way to increase the power of the Red Lotus Hellfire, and that was to devour the power of the fire origin. The candle demon had been successfully cultivated by Zhu Huo. His body contained boundless power of fire. Therefore, after being devoured by the Red Lotus Hellfire, the power of the Red Lotus Hellfire increased. Yang Hongwu was very happy this time. After all, he obtained considerable benefit. However, the only imperfection was that his cultivation did not increase. He was still at peak 8th level Divine Lord and actually had no way of breaking through the bottleneck and breaking through to the extent of 9th level Divine Lord. This made Yang Hongwu very depressed. However, there was nothing he could do about it. It was extremely difficult for him to increase his cultivation and strength, even if it was just a small increment. On the other side, King Corpse Demon's eyes widened when he saw this scene. What audacity, what audacity! He actually killed the person directly. The candle demon was devoured alive by him. Not even his bones were left. King Corpse Demon was furious. He stared at Yang Hongwu and said, You actually killed the candle demon and even devoured his bones? King Corpse Demon's voice trembled. At this moment, his hatred exploded. He recalled the various times when he fought side by side with the candle demon. After all, they were brothers for so many years. Although he was at fault, it was only when he died that King Corpse Demon knew how much his brother, the candle demon, meant to him. King Corpse Demon was very important to him. The 10 of them had followed the lifeless emperor for countless years. The 10 of them had all died. In the end, only he and the candle demon were left. But now, the candle demon was also dead, and not even his bones were left. He was killed by Yang Hongwu in front of him. How could he not be furious? Not hate? I want you to pay with your life. Even if the master blames me, I will make you pay with your life. At this moment, King Corpse Demon couldn't care less. He didn't even care about Shui Longxing. He charged towards Yang Hongwu. The powerful King Corpse Chi condensed into a terrifying beast. It was aggressive and ferocious, wanting to devour Yang Hongwu. A mere demon corpse dares to be so arrogant? Yang Hongwu snorted. Don't you know that I'm not afraid of demon corpses? After saying that, Yang Hongwu waved his hand. A ball of flame appeared. This ball of flame turned into a lotus. It was a red lotus. It was extremely beautiful. The lotus formed by the flame was the red karmic fire lotus. Wherever the red karmic fire lotus went, all the demon corpse chi was burned. The giant beast formed by the demon corpse chi turned into nothingness in an instant. King Corpse Demon screamed. The demon corpse chi was his source of strength. If the demon corpse chi was burned by the flame, his strength would be reduced. Moreover, the demonic corpse chi also contained his will. The flame wasn't an ordinary flame, it was the legendary karmic fire of the Red Lotus. That flame was able to burn the will of the demonic corpse chi. It was equivalent to burning his soul. The pain of his soul being burned was unimaginable. It wasn't something that an ordinary person could endure. Even King Corpse Demon, who had fought for countless years and experienced countless life and death situations, couldn't withstand this intense pain. After being burned by Yang Hongwu's Red Lotus karmic fire, the zombies controlled by King Corpse Demon stopped attacking Shui Longxing. Shui Longxing's strength was also very strong. With the help of the Devil Flame, he killed more than half of the zombies surrounding him. Seeing that all the zombies had stopped attacking, he also noticed the flame in Yang Hongwu's hand. This made him feel the fear of death. This flame wasn't any weaker than the Devil Flame given to him by the Demon Lord. This was what worried him the most. He rolled his eyes. In front of him, King Corpse Demon was already fighting with Yang Hongwu. His original target was Yang Hongwu. However, this kid had a terrifying flame on him. This flame seemed to be the legendary karmic fire. To him, it was fatal. If he was infected by it, he would be seriously injured even if he didn't die. Moreover, there was the even more terrifying Lifeless Emperor. Once the Lifeless Emperor attacked, he wouldn't be able to survive. Run. Without much hesitation, Shui Longxing wanted to use this opportunity to escape. However, just as he was about to escape, a powerful and domineering force appeared. Chapter 1702. Emperor. Lord Emperor. Realizing that his path was blocked, Shui Longxing's face turned bitter. This was troublesome. This was the person he didn't want to see the most. If the Lifeless Emperor did not appear, he would still have a chance to live. But now that the Lifeless Emperor appeared, there was no way for him to survive. I dare not. The Lifeless Emperor said calmly. Who are you, Shui Longxing? How can I be worthy of being called Lord by you? On the other side, Yang Hongwu sent King Corpse flying with a single blow. Although King Corpse was strong, he was restrained by Yang Hongwu. Hence, he was no match for Yang Hongwu. King Corpse was sent flying in front of Shui Longxing, interrupting him. Master, you're here? When he saw the lifeless monarch lord, the corpse monarch demon recovered from his rage. Master, you have to seek justice for the candle demon. He died a terrible death. King Corpse did not get up. He knelt on the ground and cried to the Lifeless Emperor. Alright, get up. I already know about this matter. The Lifeless Emperor sighed. He did not expect things to turn out like this. This was completely out of his expectations. You're the master of this space? Yang Hongwu squinted his eyes and looked at the person who came. This person was very strong, giving Yang Hongwu a strong sense of oppression. This was something that Yang Hongwu could only feel from some experts. This person's strength was probably not weaker than Zetian. More or less, and he's the current Zetian. However, Yang Hongwu was curious. Why did this guy lure him into his world? Of course, Yang Hongwu did not believe that this would be a good thing. He must be plotting against him. As for what this guy was plotting, he did not know. I am the master of this lifeless world, the Lifeless Emperor. You are in my inner world. The Lifeless Emperor looked at Yang Hongwu and said, You killed my men, shouldn't you give me an explanation? Master, you must avenge the candle demon. At this moment the Corpse King Devil cried out, The candle devil followed you for so many years. He died so tragically. The Lifeless Emperor frowned in displeasure. Don't say anything, I know what I'm doing. When the King Corpse Demon heard this, he did not dare to speak. Clearly, he could hear the dissatisfaction in the Lifeless Emperor's voice. To the Lifeless Emperor, his own matters were more important than anything else. Even though he and the Candle Demon had been following the Lifeless Emperor since the beginning, they were still just servants in the end. How could his life and death affect the decision of the Lifeless Emperor? At this moment, the King Corpse Demon couldn't help but feel disappointed. If this man who killed the Candle Demon was really the trump card left behind to deal with the Devil Lord, then his master, the Lifeless Emperor, would definitely not do anything to him. The Lifeless Emperor would not offend that existence for the sake of a dead Candle Demon. That existence was a true peerless expert. Even the Lifeless Emperor at his peak wouldn't dare to challenge him, let alone the current Lifeless Emperor. He was no longer the Emperor at his peak. This Emperor in front of him was just an incarnation. He was just a weak incarnation. Compared to the Lifeless Emperor at his peak, he could not be mentioned in the same breath. What explanation do you want? Yang Hongwu snorted coldly. He wanted to kill me, so I killed him. It's only right. Those who kill will be killed by others. What's there to explain? That's right. The Lifeless Emperor said. It's just that you have to look at the owner before beating a dog. You killed my subordinate without giving me an explanation. It seems like we'll have to fight it out. Fight? Great, I want to see what you've got. Yang Hongwu didn't care at all. He wasn't afraid of a fight. However, before that, I have to deal with the traitor first. Lifeless Monarch Lord said as he grabbed at Shui Longxing with his hand. An overbearing force instantly enveloped Shui Longxing. Shui Longxing was shocked when he saw this. He quickly summoned the devil flame given to him by the Devil Lord to form a huge shield to block the domineering power. However, although the devil flame shield looked strong, it was like a piece of paper in front of the lifeless emperor. It shattered instantly. The lifeless emperor grabbed Shui Longxing in his hands. Emperor Lord, please spare my life. Emperor Lord, please spare my life. Shui Longxing hurriedly begged as he was caught by lifeless monarch. I hate traitors the most in my life. Die. The lifeless emperor's power exploded, and Shui Longxing was turned into nothingness. This power, this method, was extremely domineering. Yang Hongwu narrowed his eyes when he saw the lifeless emperor kill Shui Longxing. He was indeed strong. However, as soon as Shui Longxing was killed, a wisp of intent emerged from his body and condensed into a projection in the void. It was a supreme consciousness. Devil Qi filled the sky. Devil Lord. The lifeless emperor looked at the consciousness and narrowed his eyes. You've crossed the line. Lifeless emperor? The will laughed. I didn't expect you to be hiding in this small world. Do you think you can hide from me? The entire divine realm will be under my control and become my demon realm, and your little world will be no exception. What arrogance! The lifeless emperor snorted coldly, but he didn't make a move. If he wanted to, he could easily destroy this consciousness. After all, this was his pocket world. As the ruler of this pocket world, if he couldn't even do this, then he was really too lousy. Haha, if you were at your peak, you might be able to fight against me. However, you're too weak now. You're just a clone. Your real body, TSK, has fallen into a predicament. In another 10,000 years, your real body will turn into ashes and vanish into nothingness. After the will finished speaking, it looked at Yang Hongwu and said, Yang Hongwu, I didn't expect you to be here. You are indeed my destined enemy. However, the current you is really too weak. You haven't even grown up yet. Back then, you killed my reincarnation several times. Haha, if you were to die, you would have died. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.